Good evening, ladies and gents, and welcome to the Reddit Slumber. It's that time of night to put away your worries and get lost in a fresh batch of stories from Reddit. If you find yourself relaxing to these videos, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Now, sink into your pillow and let's get straight to the stories. Story 1.
Original post I, 31 male, got the text while sitting in the waiting room at her first prenatal appointment. Let that sink in. I was literally there to support my pregnant girlfriend, and she drops this bomb via text while I'm 10 feet away. The message from Jessica, 29, read, "Been thinking. When baby comes, putting Trevor's name on birth certificate, it's easier for insurance and stuff. You understand, right? We know the truth, that's what matters. Trevor. Her ex. The guy she swore she hadn't spoken to in over a year. I looked through the glass doors at her sitting in the exam room, phone in hand, not even looking up to see my reaction. 2 years together. 6 months living in our apartment. 3 months pregnant with what I thought was our future. I texted back one word. Okay. She actually smiled at her phone and gave me a thumbs up through the glass. Like I'd agreed to pick up milk on the way home. The nurse called her back for the ultrasound. I didn't follow. Instead, I walked out to my car and sat there for a good 20 minutes, just processing. Then I made some decisions. First, I called my buddy Alex, who's a family law paralegal. Hypothetically, if someone puts another man's name on a birth certificate when they know it's not his kid, is that fraud? Absolutely. Why? Just curious. Another question. If someone's name is on a birth certificate but they can prove they were deceived, can they sue? Oh, definitely. Fraud, emotional distress, financial damages. Why are you asking? I'll tell you later. Then I got to work. Our lease was month to month. Both our names on it. I'd been paying the full rent since Jessica quit her job after morning sickness hit. Called the landlord, gave 30 days notice to vacate. Perfectly legal since we were both tenants and either could end the agreement. Next, I did some social media detective work. Found Trevor pretty easily. Married 2 years ago to a woman named Monica. Their profile's full of happy couple photos, vacation pics. His latest post from yesterday. Can't wait to start a family with my amazing wife. Oh, buddy. You have no idea what's coming. I screenshot Jessica's text, created a new email account, and sent it to Trevor with the subject line, "Congratulations, you're going to be a dad." The email was simple. Your ex, Jessica, wanted me to let you know she's pregnant and planning to put your name on the birth certificate. She says it's easier that way. Thought you should know since you'll be legally and financially responsible. Congrats. Then, because I'm petty and hurt, I went on one of those gift basket websites. Sent a congratulations new dad, bad basket to Trevor's work address, found it on LinkedIn. The card read, "From Jessica and the baby, can't wait for you to be involved." By the time Jessica got home from her appointment, I'd already started packing my stuff. Hey babe, sorry you had to leave. Everything okay? She asked, not even slightly concerned. Yeah, all good, just remembered I had a work thing. She bought it. Spent the evening talking about baby names, nursery colors. I nodded along while mentally cataloging what was mine to pack. That night, she got a text. Then another. Then her phone started ringing. What the hell? She muttered, then her face went white. Oh my God. Update 1. The fallout was immediate and spectacular. Jessica's phone exploded. She kept declining calls, but they kept coming. Finally, she answered one on speaker, not realizing I could hear from the bedroom where I was sleeping. It was Trevor. And he was pissed. What the hell, Jessica? What baby? What birth certificate? I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to me. Someone sent me your text about putting my name on a birth certificate. Monica is losing her mind. She thinks I cheated. Someone sent you. Oh my God, it's not what it looks like. Then what is it? Are you pregnant? Yes, but... Is it mine? Long pause. No. Then why the hell would you put my name on the birth certificate? It's complicated. You have better insurance through your job and... Are you insane? That's fraud, and I'm married. I know you're married, that's why it would work. You wouldn't want custody, so... He hung up. Jessica came storming into the bedroom. Did you send that text to Trevor? I sat up, played dumb. What text? Don't play stupid. Someone sent him our private conversation. Our private conversation about you committing fraud? She actually had the audacity to look offended. It's not fraud, it's just paperwork. It's literally fraud, Jess. You want to lie on an official document. For the baby's benefit, Trevor has amazing insurance through his tech job. You're freelance, your insurance sucks. So you decided unilaterally to commit fraud and make another man financially responsible for my kid? It's not like that. He wouldn't have to actually do anything, except be legally and financially responsible for 18 years. You're overreacting. Am I? Did you even consider that he's married? That this could destroy his marriage? She rolled her eyes. That's not my problem. And there it was, the mask completely off. The next morning, while Jessica was in the shower, her phone rang. The caller ID said Monica. I let it go to voicemail, but Jessica played it later, not knowing I was listening from the hallway. You pathetic, home-wrecking piece of trash. Trevor told me everything. If you put his name on any document, I will sue you into oblivion. I'm a lawyer, sweetie, and what you're planning is fraud. Stay away from my husband, or I'll destroy you. Jessica actually laughed. She's so dramatic. That afternoon, I got a call from an unknown number. It was Monica. Are you Jessica's boyfriend? For now. You sent that email to Trevor? I can neither confirm nor deny. Thank you. He was about to unknowingly become legally responsible for a child that isn't his. You saved us from a nightmare. He should probably talk to a lawyer, document everything. Already on it, can I ask, is the baby yours? Supposedly. Supposedly. Well, she wanted to put another man's name on the birth certificate because it's easier. Makes me wonder what else she considers easier. Monica was quiet for a moment. Get a paternity test. Already planning on it. That evening, Jessica announced she was going to stay with her mom until things calmed down. Things would be calm if you hadn't tried to commit fraud, I pointed out. You betrayed my trust. You went behind my back. I forwarded a text about you going behind my back. The baby you're carrying that I thought was mine, you wanted to legally declare as another man's. It is yours. I just thought. You thought you could use Trevor's insurance and money while I played daddy. That's what you thought. She started crying. You don't understand the pressure I'm under. Being pregnant is hard. I'm just trying to do what's best. What's best is not committing fraud. She packed a bag and left. 20 minutes later, I got a text from her mom, Diane. How dare you stress out my pregnant daughter? She's fragile right now. I responded, your daughter tried to commit paternity fraud. That's a felony in this state. She was just confused. Pregnancy hormones. Hormones made her plan fraud? You're heartless. I didn't respond. The next day, I took the day off work and moved all my stuff out. Left all the furniture, it was mostly hers anyway, but took everything I'd bought. TV, gaming console, coffee maker, the good pans. Petty? Maybe. Satisfying? Absolutely. Left a note. Lease ends in 30 days. Your mom can probably help with rent. Good luck with Trevor's insurance. Update 2. Jessica lost her mind when she came back to a half-empty apartment and an eviction notice. The text started immediately. Where are you? Where's your stuff? The landlord says you ended the lease? You can't do this, I'm pregnant? Answer me? This is illegal. I'm calling the cops. She actually did call the cops. They called me. I explained I'd ended a month-to-month lease that I was on and removed my own belongings. They told her it was a civil matter. Then came the family brigade. Her sister Lauren called first. You need to man up and take care of your responsibilities. My responsibility? She wanted to put another man's name on the birth certificate. She explained that it was for insurance purposes. That's called fraud, Lauren. It's illegal. You're abandoning your child. I'm not abandoning anyone. I'll take a paternity test when the baby's born. If it's mine, I'll be there. But I'm not staying with someone who thinks fraud is a casual solution to insurance issues. Her dad, Robert, tried next. Different approach. Son, I know Jessica made a mistake, but... A mistake? She planned to lie on an official document and make another man legally responsible for a child. She wasn't thinking clearly. She was thinking clearly enough to text me about it while I was in the waiting room of her prenatal appointment. That's pretty calculated. Can't you forgive her? For the baby? I can co-parent if the baby's mine. But I can't trust her. She showed me who she is. Meanwhile, the Trevor situation was escalating. Monica had gone full scorched earth. She'd hired a lawyer to send Jessica a cease and desist letter, warning her that any attempt to put Trevor's name on any documents would result in immediate legal action. Jessica, in her infinite wisdom, decided to try and smooth things over by messaging Trevor directly. I know because Monica forwarded me the screenshots. We'd been in contact, comparing notes. Jessica. Hey, I'm sorry about the misunderstanding. Can we talk? No. Don't contact me again. It's not what you think. I just needed help with insurance. Trevor. That's fraud. My lawyer says any further contact will be considered harassment. Your wife made you get a lawyer? Controlling much? My wife saved me from being baby-trapped by my crazy ex. I'm blocking you. Jessica then tried to play victim on social media. Posted about how some people can't handle a woman trying to provide for her baby, and the betrayal when you thought someone loved you. The comments were not what she expected. One mutual friend, didn't you try to put your ex's name on the birth certificate? Another, that's literally fraud, hun. Her cousin, girl, delete this, you're embarrassing yourself. She deleted the post within an hour. Then came the real kicker. Jessica's mom called me crying. Please come back. Jessica's having complications from the stress. What kind of complications? High blood pressure. The doctor says she needs to avoid stress. Then she should probably stop trying to commit fraud and manipulate people. How can you be so cold? That's your baby. Is it because she was pretty eager to legally declare it as Trevor's? She made a mistake. No, Diane. A mistake is forgetting to buy milk. This was a calculated plan to defraud someone and commit a felony. The guilt trips continued for days. Pictures of Jessica looking sad. Messages about how the baby needs a father. Sob stories about struggling pregnant women. But here's the thing. I'd already consulted a lawyer. If the baby was mine, I'd fight for custody. Given Jessica's attempted fraud, documented by her own texts, I had a good case. Final update. It's been 3 months since everything went down. The baby was born 2 weeks ago. A little girl named Sophia. I was there for the birth. Not in the room. Jessica didn't want me there, but in the hospital. I'd made it clear through my lawyer that I wanted a paternity test immediately. Jessica fought it at first, claimed it was insulting, and proved I never trusted her. But when the hospital staff explained I had the legal right to request it before signing anything, she caved. The results came back in 48 hours. Sophia is mine. The relief was overwhelming, followed immediately by rage that Jessica had been willing to deny me my daughter for better insurance coverage. But here's where Jessica's entitlement really shined. With the paternity confirmed, she expected me to immediately move back in and be a family. See, I told you she was yours. Now we can put this behind us. No, Jessica, we're not together. I'll be filing for joint custody. Her face went from hopeful to furious. You can't take my baby. Our baby. And I'm not taking her. I'm asking for joint custody. That's fair. Fair? You abandoned me while I was pregnant. You tried to commit paternity fraud. I have it in writing. She tried every manipulation in the book. Sophia needs her parents together. Should have thought of that before the fraud. I'm breastfeeding. She can't be away from me. Pumping exists. You don't know anything about babies. YouTube and parenting classes exist. I'll make sure you never see her. Good luck with that in court. My lawyer filed for joint custody immediately. Jessica countered, asking for full custody with supervised visitation for me, claiming I was unstable and had abandoned her during pregnancy. The court hearing was last week. Jessica showed up playing the victim. Soft voice, tears ready, the whole performance. Her lawyer argued I was an unfit father who'd abandoned a pregnant woman. Then my lawyer presented the evidence. The original text about putting Trevor's name on the birth certificate. Text exchanges where Jessica admitted it was for insurance fraud. Monica's statement about Jessica trying to make her husband legally responsible for another man's child. The cease and desist letter Jessica received. Character witnesses, including my employer and neighbors. The judge's face was priceless. He literally asked Jessica, "Ma'am, did you actually plan to put another man's name on the birth certificate?" I was confused. Pregnancy hormones. This text seems pretty clear. You said it was easier for insurance purposes. I wasn't thinking straight. Ma'am, attempting to falsify a birth certificate is a crime. Jessica started sobbing. Real tears this time. The ruling, joint legal custody with a graduated physical custody schedule. I get Sophia every weekend now. Graduating to 50-50 when she's 6 months old. Jessica has to attend counseling for a minimum of 6 months. Any attempt at parental alienation will result in revisiting the custody agreement. Jessica lost it. started screaming in the courthouse about how I was stealing her baby and the judge was discriminating against mothers. The judge warned her about contempt. Her mom had to physically drag her out. The aftermath has been interesting. Jessica's been telling everyone I'm a deadbeat who abandoned her and stole her baby. Problem is, most people know about the birth certificate thing now, so she's not getting much sympathy. Trevor and Monica? They're good. She's pregnant now, for real. And they sent me a congratulations card when Sophia was born. Weird? Maybe. But I think we bonded over dodging Jessica's bullet. Jessica's mom still calls trying to guilt trip me. Jessica's struggling. She needs help with rent. She should get a job. She has a newborn. So do I. I still work. You're heartless. No, I'm just not an ATM. Jessica tried one last manipulation last week. Texted me a long message about how she's reflected and grown and realizes she made a mistake. Maybe we could try again for Sophia. I responded with a screenshot of her original text about the birth certificate. She called me an asshole. I didn't respond. Look, I'm not proud of some of the petty things I did. The gift basket to Trevor's office was probably over the top. But I'm also not sorry. Jessica was willing to deny me my daughter, commit fraud, and destroy someone else's marriage for better insurance coverage. She played stupid games and won stupid prizes. Now I have my daughter 3 days a week, soon to be 50-50, a nice one-bedroom apartment closer to work, and a court order protecting my parental rights. Jessica has a 2-bedroom she can't afford, a reputation as someone who tried to commit paternity fraud, and a custody arrangement she hates, but can't change. For Sophia, she's perfect. Doesn't care about the drama, just wants her bottle and snuggles. I've got a whole nursery set up. Probably went overboard with the pink everything, but whatever. My lawyer says Jessica's already inquired about modifying custody. Wants to move to another state with Sophia for a fresh start. The answer was no. She can't relocate without my consent or court approval, which she won't get given her history. The entitlement hasn't stopped though. Last night she texted asking if I could cover her electricity bill for Sophia's sake. I Venmo'd her $20 with the note. For Sophia's nightlight, she called me pathetic. I sent another $5 with the note for tissues. She blocked me on Venmo. Worth it. Anyway, that's my story. Didn't expect to be a single dad at 31, but here we are. Sophia's worth all the drama. And honestly, finding out who Jessica really was before we got married or had more kids together, that gift basket to Trevor might have been the best $89.99 I ever spent.
Story 2.
The restaurant was one of those quiet, upscale places in downtown Seattle. The kind with low lighting and a view of the Puget Sound through floor-to-ceiling windows. Rain streaked the glass as I sat across from my fiancée, Elena, watching her push salmon around her plate without really eating it. We had come here to finalize the menu for our rehearsal dinner, but the conversation had taken a turn I never saw coming. She set her fork down and folded her hands in her lap. "Alex," she said, her voice soft but deliberate. "I need to tell you something. I've been thinking a lot lately, and I don't think I'm ready for the wedding." The words landed like a quiet thud. I felt the air leave the room, even though the hum of other conversations continued around us. We had been together 7 years, engaged for 9 months. The invitations were already printed. The venue deposit was non-refundable. I owned the condo we lived in. Everything was in my name that I waited for her to continue. "I love you," she went on quickly, as if sensing the silence stretching too far. "I really do. But everything feels like it's happening so fast, and I'm scared I'm losing myself in it. I just need some time to breathe." A pause. "I'm not saying we're over. I'm asking if you can wait for me while I sort this out." Her best friend Lauren, who had joined us to help with planning, nodded along from the seat beside her. "It's completely normal," Lauren added, giving me that gentle, pitying smile people reserve for someone they think is about to be hurt. "Brides get overwhelmed. You just have to give her space." The other friend, Tara, chimed in too. "Yeah, Alex, you're so understanding. She'll come around once she feels centered again." Elena reached across the table and covered my hand with hers. Her fingers were cool. "Can you do that for me? Can you wait?" I looked at her eyes, big, hazel, pleading, and felt something inside me settle into a strange, icy calm. She wasn't asking for time. She was asking for permission to keep all the benefits of being engaged while stepping back from the commitment. She wanted the safety of knowing I'd be there when she decided she was ready again. I end that moment. The decision crystallized. It wasn't anger. It wasn't even heartbreak yet. It was clarity that I gave her hand a gentle squeeze, smiled the way she expected me to, and said, "Of course. Take whatever time you need. I'll be here." Relief washed over her face. She leaned forward and kissed my cheek. "Thank you. You have no idea how much this means to me. You're amazing." Lauren and Tara beamed. The supportive fiancé had passed the test. The rest of the dinner shifted. They started talking excitedly about a girls' weekend they were planning for Napa Valley, the same weekend that had originally been reserved for our wedding. Wine tastings, spa days, photos in the vineyards. Elena laughed and added details, already picturing it. I nodded along, signaled the waiter for another bottle of wine, and paid the check without comment. That night, after I dropped them at Lauren's apartment, I drove home alone. The condo was dark when I walked in. I stood in the living room for a long time, looking at the framed photos on the shelf, the throw pillows she had picked out, the half-finished wedding binder on the coffee table. Then I got to work. I'm a product designer at a mid-sized tech company, but for the past 3 years I'd been quietly building a side project, an AI-powered design tool that had just been acquired by one of the big players. The deal closed 2 weeks earlier. 7 figures. Life-altering money that Elena knew about and had started weaving into her future plans. I opened my laptop and called my wealth manager. We spent 2 hours moving the entire payout into irrevocable trusts and accounts structured in a way that made them unreachable in any common law claim. Next, I logged into our banking apps and canceled the secondary card I'd given her years ago. I transferred the balance of the joint checking account, mostly money I deposited, into my personal one and closed it. I called the leasing company for the BMW I'd bought her last year as an engagement gift and arranged for the title to be corrected to my name only. Then I went through every shared subscription, streaming services, gym membership, even the meal kit delivery, and removed her access by 3 in the morning. I had erased every digital tether that could be quietly severed. The next step was harder. I opened Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, every platform where we built a shared online life, and initiated permanent deletions. Years of couple photos, vacation memories, engagement announcements. Gone. I exported my contacts, wiped my phone, and ordered a new one with a new number to be delivered to a private mailbox I'd set up months earlier for business reasons. Finally, I packed one large duffel and a carry-on. Passports, laptops, external drives, legal documents, a few changes of clothes. I walked through the condo one last time, not touching anything of hers. Her dresses still hung in the closet. Her skincare lined the bathroom counter. Her books sat on the nightstand. I left a single note on the kitchen island, written in my usual handwriting on a plain white card. "I'll wait." Then I locked the door behind me, dropped the keys in the secure drop box my building manager uses for maintenance, and took a rideshare to the airport. By the time the sun rose over Seattle, I was on a direct flight to Barcelona. I spent the first month in a small apartment in Gracia, a neighborhood full of narrow streets and local bars where no one spoke much English. The anonymity was immediate and complete. I bought a local SIM, set up new email addresses, and let the days blur into quiet routine. Coffee in the morning, long walks, work on freelance projects that paid well and asked no questions. The only person who knew where I was, or that I was even alive, was my sister Claire. We spoke once every 10 days or so. She kept me updated, reluctantly at first, then with a mix of disbelief and quiet admiration. The fallout began sooner than I expected. Elena woke up the day after I left expecting everything to feel lighter. Instead, her card was declined at the coffee shop drive-thru. By evening, she'd discovered the joint account was gone. She drove to the condo, still had a key, and found everything untouched except for my absence and the note. Claire said the first calls were to her, then to my parents, then to mutual friends. Casual at first. "Have you heard from Alex? He's not answering texts." Within days it became urgent. "I'm really worried. His phone is off. His socials are all deleted." She filed a missing person report. Police checked the condo, saw no signs of struggle, noted that my clothes and tech were selectively gone, and classified it as a voluntary departure. Nothing they could do. The girls' trip to Napa still happened the weekend our wedding had been scheduled for. Elena went, posting photos from someone else's account since her spending money now came from her parents. Claire said the pictures looked forced, big smiles, beautiful vineyards, captions about self-love and new beginnings. But the comments from people who knew the real story were brutal in their silence. When she returned, reality tightened its grip. The BMW was repossessed from the airport long-term parking where she'd left it. Her parents paid the overdraft fees she'd racked up in the weeks before everything was cut off. But they drew a line at continuing to fund her lifestyle. She moved out of the condo. Technically, she'd never been on the lease, and back into her childhood bedroom. She got a job as a front desk coordinator at a boutique fitness studio downtown. Decent pay, but a far cry from the flexible schedule and unlimited shopping she'd grown used to. Friends started peeling away. Lauren and Tara, who had encouraged the pause, suddenly had busy schedules whenever Elena suggested meeting up. Mutual acquaintances stopped inviting her to group events. The narrative spread quietly but thoroughly. She had asked for space at the 11th hour, and he had given her exactly that. Permanently 0.3 months in, Claire sent me a screenshot from a private group chat she was still in. Elena had posted a long message claiming I'd become distant and secretive after the acquisition, that the money had changed me, that I'd abandoned her without explanation. A few people liked it out of pity. Most didn't respond at all. One night, according to Claire, Elena showed up uninvited to a birthday dinner a bunch of our old friends were having at a rooftop bar. She tried to sit down and launch into her version of events. Jake, my closest friend from college, finally stopped her. "Elena," he said, calm but firm. "We were all there that night at the restaurant. We heard you ask him to wait. We watched you plan your Napa trip right in front of him. He didn't abandon you. He did exactly what you asked." The table went quiet. She left in tears. 6 months passed. I moved from Barcelona to Valencia, renting a bright, airy flat near the beach. My freelance work turned into steady retainers from European startups. I learned passable Spanish, made friends at a local climbing gym, started dating a woman named Marta who worked as a marine biologist. Nothing dramatic, just dinners, weekends exploring the coast, easy laughter. I flew home once for my parents' 40th anniversary party. Stayed in a hotel, kept a low profile. No one mentioned Elena to my face, but Claire filled me in later. She was still at the fitness studio, still living with her parents. The story of what happened had solidified into local lore. The bride who asked her groom to wait, only to discover he took her at her word and never came back. The final chapter came almost exactly a year after I left. Claire called me on a Sunday morning, voice tight with secondhand embarrassment. Elena had apparently scraped together money for a consultation with an attorney. She wanted to sue for breach of promise to marry and emotional distress, claiming the engagement created a binding expectation of financial support. Why lawyer received the demand letter and responded with a concise reply. Attached were sworn statements from 2 people who had been at that restaurant dinner, plus the itemized receipt showing the expensive meal and wine I'd paid for while they celebrated her newfound freedom. The closing paragraph was simple. Mr. Rivera honored Ms. Castillo's explicit request. He waited. He continues to wait. He simply chose to do so from a location of his preference. We trust this clarifies the matter. The claim was withdrawn within 48 hours. That was the last I heard of any legal action. Sometimes, late at night when the city is quiet, I think about that note I left on the island. I'll wait, she's still waiting. I suppose. For an explanation, for closure, for a different ending. But I'm not. I'm living in a sun-filled apartment overlooking the Mediterranean, building something new, surrounded by people who know me only as I am now. The past feels like a book I finished reading a long time ago. There was no dramatic showdown. No final angry message. No moment where I got to watch her realize the full weight of what she'd lost. My absence was the point. The silence was the answer. She wanted to press pause on a life we'd built together, so I stopped the tape entirely and walked away. And in the space she left empty, I found room to breathe for the first time in years. I'm finally free.
Story 3.
The first 48 hours with our son were a beautiful, terrifying, sleep-deprived blur. My wife Sarah was a warrior. I was just the guy running on coffee and adrenaline, trying to remember how to swaddle and not screw anything up. We brought him home, this tiny 7-pound miracle, and for one perfect evening it was just the 3 of us, our little family. We named him Alec. Not Alexander, just Alec. It felt strong, clean, and simple. It felt like him. The next day, the family pilgrimage began. My parents cried, Sarah's parents cried, everyone cooed over Alec, calling his name perfect. Then my sister Chloe arrived. She breezed in, dropped a gift bag on the counter, and peered into the bassinet. "Oh, he's so tiny," she said before looking up at me. "So, Alec. You mean Alex, right?" I smiled, still running on the high of being a new dad. "No, Alec. A-L-E-C. Chloe's face pinched just for a second. It was a look I knew well, the one she got right before offering an opinion nobody asked for. "Oh," she said, the single syllable loaded with judgment. "Okay. Well, everyone is just going to call him Alex anyway." You probably should have just gone with that. Sarah, who was sitting on the couch nursing a cup of tea, shifted uncomfortably. "We liked Alex," she said, her voice quiet. "It's the name we chose, Chloe," I added, trying to sound breezy and final. Chloe just shrugged and changed the subject to the hideous diaper bag she'd bought us. But the damage was done. A tiny crack had appeared in our perfect little bubble. For the next few days, Chloe was cold. Her texts were one-word answers. She ignored a picture I sent of Alec in his first bath. It was classic Chloe sulking. I'd seen it a million times ever since we were kids, and I got the video game console she wanted for Christmas. I figured she'd get over it. It was a stupid thing to be weird about. I was wrong. A week after Alec was born, she called me while I was rocking him to sleep. Sarah was in the shower, her first real break of the day. "Hey, what's up?" I whispered, pacing the nursery. "I need to talk to you about the baby's name," she said, no preamble. My spine stiffened. "Chloe, we're not having this conversation again." "No, you need to listen," she insisted, her voice gaining an urgent, almost frantic edge. "I've been thinking about it nonstop. It's just a dumb name, Connor. I'm sorry, but it is. It sounds incomplete, like you got halfway through Alex and gave up. He's going to have to correct people his entire life. I stopped pacing. Alex stirred in my arms and I started rocking again, my movements jerky with anger. It's our son. We chose it. It's done. But it's not, she said, her voice rising. It's a mistake. A stupid, trendy mistake, and you shouldn't have chosen it. I'm just trying to save you from future embarrassment. I heard the bathroom door creak open down the hall. Sarah? Chloe, I'm hanging up now, I said through gritted teeth. I'm just saying what everyone else is too polite to say. I ended the call and shoved my phone in my pocket, my hand trembling. I walked out of the nursery to see Sarah standing in the hallway wrapped in a towel, her face pale. She'd heard. I saw it in her eyes, that flicker of doubt, that fresh wave of anxiety that was already consuming her. The postpartum anxiety had hit Sarah like a truck. She was barely sleeping, even when Alec was. She worried about everything, if he was warm enough, if he was eating enough, if she was holding him right. She was fragile, second-guessing every single instinct. And now my sister had just lobbed a grenade into her fragile confidence, basically telling her she'd failed at the very first task of motherhood, naming her child. Don't listen to her, I said, my voice softer than I felt. She's being ridiculous. Sarah just nodded, not meeting my eyes, and disappeared into our bedroom. I knew she wouldn't just brush it off. It would sit there and fester, another thing for her anxious mind to latch onto. For 2 days, there was silence. I didn't reach out to Chloe, and she didn't reach out to me. I was hoping, praying she'd finally dropped it. I focused on Sarah, trying to rebuild the confidence Chloe had shattered. I kept telling her how much I loved the name Alec, how perfect it was, how perfect times he times was. She would smile, but it never quite reached her eyes. Then this afternoon, my phone buzzed. I was sitting on the floor trying to assemble a baby swing that looked like it required an engineering degree. Sarah was on the couch with Alex sleeping on her chest, a rare moment of peace. I glanced at the screen. It was a text from Chloe. My stomach dropped. My hands were shaking as I opened it. It wasn't an apology. It was an ultimatum. Asterisk, asterisk, I've spoken to Mom and Dad, and they agree with me. This isn't just my opinion anymore, it's a family opinion. You need to take it on board and change the name. If you won't do that, you at least need to go correct the spelling on the birth certificate to Alex. It's not too late to fix this. Asterisk, asterisk. I stared at the glowing screen, the words burning into my retinas. Asterisk, correct the spelling. Fix this. Asterisk. My thumb hovered over the keyboard, shaking with a rage so pure and cold it felt like ice water flooding my chest. Beside me, Sarah stirred. Alec was still asleep on her, his tiny chest rising and falling in a rhythm of perfect peace. A peace my sister seemed hell-bent on destroying. What is it? Sarah whispered, her eyes tracking the rigid line of my jaw. I didn't say a word. I just turned the phone and let her read it. I watched her face crumble. It wasn't loud or dramatic. It was a quiet, devastating collapse. The light in her eyes just went out. Her shoulders slumped, and she pulled Alec a little closer, as if to shield him from the words on the screen. That was it. That was the last straw. I stood up carefully, placing the half-assembled baby swing parts on the floor, and walked into the kitchen. I hit Chloe's contact and put the phone to my ear. She answered on the second ring, her voice smug. Did you get my text? I think it's for the bee. Listen to me very carefully. I cut her off, my voice dangerously low. You will not contact me or Sarah about this again. Not by text, not by phone, not by carrier pigeon. Do you understand? There was a stunned silence. Excuse me, I was just... No, I snapped the word like a gunshot in the quiet house. You don't get to just anything. Your opinion on my son's name is useless. It is worthless. It means absolutely nothing to me, and even less to Sarah. The only thing it's doing is causing pain to a new mother who is already going through hell, and I will not allow it. How dare you, she shrieked, her voice cracking with indignation. I'm just sharing a family opinion. Mom and Dad agree with me. I don't care if the Pope himself agrees with you, I retorted, my voice rising. This is not a family opinion situation. This is my son, my wife, my family. There are some topics that are completely off limits. And this is the biggest one. You have crossed a line you can't even see anymore, Chloe. You're being a bully, Connor. I'm your sister. Then act like it, I was yelling, now pacing the kitchen tiles like a caged animal. A sister would have brought a casserole and told my wife she was doing a great job. A sister would have held her nephew and said his name was perfect because times he times is perfect. You have done nothing but try to tear down the first real decision we've made as parents. So we're done. This conversation is over permanently. I hung up before she could say another word. My heart was hammering against my ribs. I leaned against the counter, breathing heavily, the silence of the house pressing in on me. When I walked back into the living room, Sarah was looking at me, tears silently streaming down her cheeks. You didn't have to do that, she whispered, her voice thick. Yes, I said, my own voice shaking. I really did. The fallout was faster and more brutal than I could have imagined. 2 hours later, while I was finally wrestling the last screw into the baby swing, my mom called. Connor, what on earth did you say to your sister? She is absolutely beside herself. I didn't even try to soften it. I told her to leave us alone. She said you called her opinion useless and screamed at her. My dad's voice chimed in from a speakerphone. She was just trying to help son. We all think Alec is a bit unconventional. Alex is just a stronger name. I felt a fresh wave of fury so potent it made me dizzy. Unconventional. It's a name. It's not like we named him Xylophone. And she wasn't helping, she was demanding. She sent Sarah a text telling us to go change the birth certificate. After I already told her to stop. Well, her delivery might have been a bit off, my mother conceded, but her heart was in the right place. You were far too harsh, Connor. She's your family. You owe her an apology. I laughed. It was a hollow, ugly sound. An apology? Are you kidding me? You want me to apologize for defending my wife and my son? You need to learn that not everything is a personal attack, my dad said, his tone dripping with paternal disappointment. You've completely overreacted and hurt your sister's feelings. Frankly, we're very disappointed in you. Disappointed. The word hit me like a physical blow. They weren't disappointed in Chloe for her cruelty, for her relentless harassment of a woman struggling with postpartum anxiety. They were disappointed in me for standing up to it. Okay, I said, my voice flat and dead. I see how it is. I have to go. Alec needs a diaper change. I hung up on them too. I didn't have the energy for another fight. I stood there in the living room, the garish, colorful baby swing finally assembled a monument to a life that was supposed to be joyful, but now felt like a battlefield. My own parents. They had sided with her. I was completely on my own. That night I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed listening to the soft breathing of my wife and son. Sarah had finally fallen into a deep, exhausted sleep. I watched them for a long time, this perfect little unit I had fought for, and a corrosive doubt began to creep in. Was I too harsh? Did I overreact? The words my dad said echoed in my head. Asterisk, you've hurt your sister's feelings. Asterisk, in their eyes, I was the villain. I was the one who broke the peace, not Chloe. They had me questioning my own reality, my own justifiable anger. I slipped out of bed and went to the living room, the glow of my laptop screen cutting through the darkness. I felt isolated, cornered, and furious. I needed an outside perspective. I needed to know if I was crazy. My fingers flew across the keyboard, typing out the whole miserable story. The first visit, the phone call, the ultimatum, the showdown. I described Sarah's anxiety, my parents' betrayal, and the soul-crushing feeling of being ganged up on by the people who were supposed to be my biggest support. I typed until my fingers ached and my eyes burned. When I was done, I stared at the blinking cursor at the end of the post. I gave it a title, a simple, desperate question for a jury of anonymous strangers. Am I the bad guy for telling my sister her opinion on my son's name is useless and worthless? I took a deep breath. And I clicked post.
Story 4.
I found out my girlfriend publicly humiliated me on a Tuesday afternoon. My buddy Jake sent me a text. Dude, you need to see this. Followed by a TikTok link. I was at my desk, halfway through a budget report, thinking he was sending me something funny. I clicked it. The video started with that upbeat trending audio. And there was Brittany, my girlfriend of 2.5 years, sitting on our couch. The one I'd helped her pick out. Holding up 5 fingers. Ranking my exes from worst to best. The text overlay read. She put down 1 finger. Number 5. Mike. My actual name. My face felt hot. Mike was safe. Stable. Boring. Like dating your accountant. She laughed. That laugh I used to think was cute. 4 out of 10. Would not recommend if you actually want to feel alive. I watched her put down the other fingers. For other guys. Guys I'd heard about in passing. Guys from college, guys from before me. She got a number 1. Ethan. She smiled differently for this one. Warmer. Actually exciting. Took risks. Made me feel like I was living, not just existing. 9 out of 10. Maybe I should call him. She added a thinking emoji with her fingers, that coy little smirk on her face. The video had 57,000 views. The comments were worse. Poor Mike Elmo, accountant energy, loudly crying face, loudly crying face, loudly crying face. Girl call Ethan. Safe guys always finish last FR. And Brittany had pinned her own comment at the top. Sometimes safe isn't enough nail polish. I sat there staring at my phone for what felt like an hour, but was probably 2 minutes. My coworker asked if I was okay. I said I was fine. I wasn't fine. I left work early. Told them I had a migraine. Which wasn't entirely a lie, my head was pounding. I drove home on autopilot. Parked in our apartment complex, and sat in the car trying to figure out what I was supposed to do with this information. She'd posted it 3 days ago. 3 days. We'd had breakfast together this morning. She'd kissed me goodbye. I walked into the apartment around 4 p.m. She was on the couch, scrolling through her phone, probably reading more comments. She looked up, surprised. Hey, you're home early. Everything okay? I pulled out my phone. Opened the TikTok. Turned it toward her. Want to explain this? Her face went through several expressions in rapid succession. Surprise. Guilt. Then something harder. Defensive. Oh my God, you saw that. She set her phone down. Mike, it's just a trend. Everyone's doing it. It's not that serious. You call me boring. Publicly. You ranked me dead last and told 57,000 people I'm a 4 out of 10. I didn't think you'd see it. She stood up. It's just TikTok. It's not real life. You pinned a comment saying safe isn't enough. That seems pretty real to me. You're being too sensitive about this. She crossed her arms. This is exactly what I mean, Mike. You can't even handle a silly video. Everything has to be so serious with you. A silly video. I felt something cold settle in my chest. You publicly humiliated me, and I'm too sensitive. It's social media? It's supposed to be fun. Her voice was rising now. Maybe if you were more fun, more spontaneous, I wouldn't have to post stuff like that to feel something. Feel something? I repeated. Have you been talking to Ethan? The pause told me everything. We've texted a little bit. As friends. How long? That's not. Mike, we're just talking. How long? A few weeks. She looked away. Maybe a month. It's nothing. I sat down on the armchair. Not the couch. Couldn't sit where she'd filmed that video. A month. We're just catching up. God. Why do you have to make everything into a thing? She was fully angry now. Like I was the one who'd done something wrong. You know what? Yes. Yes, I've been talking to him. And yes, maybe I'm curious where it could go. Because this, she gestured between us. This isn't enough anymore. You're not enough anymore. There it was. The truth under all the deflection. You're safe, Mike. You're stable. You're never going to take a risk or do anything exciting. You're going to work your accounting job and come home and watch Netflix, and that's it. That's the rest of my life if I stay with you. I'm a financial analyst, not an accountant, I said quietly. Stupidly. Like that mattered. See? That right there. She laughed. But it wasn't kind. That's exactly what I mean. Who cares? It's all the same boring office stuff. Ethan is starting his own business. He's taking chances. He's actually living. Ethan works part-time at a vape shop. He's an entrepreneur. Her face was flushed now. He has vision. He has passion. He doesn't just accept whatever boring life gets handed to him. I stood up. I felt very calm suddenly. Eerily calm. Okay. Okay, what? Okay. I hear you. You want exciting. You want Ethan. You think I'm boring. I picked up my keys from the side table. I'm going to go stay with Jake tonight. We'll figure out the apartment stuff later. Wait, what? You're leaving? You just told me I'm not enough. That I'll never be enough. What exactly do you want me to do here, Brittany? I didn't say. I just meant. She looked panicked now. Like she'd expected a different reaction. A fight, maybe. Begging. We should talk about this. You've been talking to another guy for a month. You made a viral video calling me boring. You just told me to my face I'm not enough. I opened the door. I think we're done talking. You should be grateful I stayed this long, right? I threw her own words back at her. The TikTok comment. Mike, don't be like this. Good luck with Ethan. I hope he's everything you're looking for. I left. Closed the door on whatever she said next. Sat in my car and just breathed for a while. Then I drove to Jake's. I didn't go back to the apartment when she was there. I took a sick day Wednesday. A real one this time. Because I barely slept on Jake's couch. Thursday morning, I checked her Instagram story. She'd posted a gym selfie at 7:30 a.m. Captioned, "New beginnings, energy sparkles, she'd be at work until 3 o'clock. She was an elementary school teacher. Very scheduled. I went to the apartment at 9 a.m. with Jake and his truck. It took us 3 hours to pack everything that was mine. Clothes. Books. My desk setup. Kitchen stuff I'd brought into the relationship. My TV. I left the couch. The bed frame. All the furniture we'd bought together. I didn't want any of it. I called the landlord from the parking lot. Explained the situation professionally. Offered to pay my half of the rent for 2 more months while she found a roommate or figured something out. He appreciated it. Said he'd draw up an amendment to the lease. The last thing I did was leave a note on the kitchen counter, under her coffee mug. The mug I'd bought her for Christmas last year. I saw the video. I heard what you said. I hope Ethan is everything you're looking for. I'm out. Good luck with everything. Mike. Then I blocked her number. Blocked her on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, everything. Jake helped me move my stuff into a storage unit while I looked for a new apartment. My phone buzzed with texts from unknown numbers that evening. I knew it was her, trying to reach me from other people's phones or from apps. I didn't read them. Just blocked each number as it came in. I stayed with Jake for a week, then moved into a small 1-bedroom apartment across town. It was smaller than what I was used to, but it was mine. Just mine. I spent that first weekend setting it up, and something about building furniture alone, hanging my own pictures, choosing what went where. It felt like breathing for the first time in months. I didn't hear anything about Brittany for about 3 weeks. I'd asked our mutual friends not to tell me anything, and most of them respected that. I was going to the gym more. Started therapy, my insurance covered it. So why not? My therapist asked me how I felt about everything. Numb. I told her. I'm just numb. That's normal, she said. You're processing. Give yourself time. Then, about 6 weeks after I left, Jake mentioned something. So, I don't know if you want to know this, but Brittany moved that Ethan guy into your old apartment. Okay, I said. We were at a bar, having beers after work. Like 2 weeks after you left. It's all over her Instagram. She's posting couple stuff constantly. Good for her. You're really okay. I don't know if I'm okay. I admit it. But I'm better than I would be if I'd stayed. Jake nodded. For what it's worth, man, she's an idiot. You're a catch. A boring, safe catch. I said, trying to make it a joke. Stable isn't boring. It's grown up. She's going to figure that out. I didn't think so, but I appreciated him saying it. Another few weeks passed. I was settling into my new routine. Work, gym, therapy, hanging out with friends. I went on a date. Nothing serious, just coffee with a woman from a work conference. It was fine. Pleasant. I wasn't ready for anything serious, but it was nice to feel like I could have a conversation with someone who didn't think I was fundamentally insufficient. Then the cracks in Brittany's new life started showing. I didn't go looking for the information. It came to me through mutual friends who couldn't help themselves. Ethan doesn't have a job. Our friend Nicole told me at a birthday party. Like at all. Brittany's covering everything. She's already stressed about it. She made her choice. I said, I know, I thought you'd want to know karma's working. I'm trying not to think about it. But the information kept filtering through. Ethan's business was a cryptocurrency scheme that never materialized. He was between projects, which apparently meant unemployed and borrowing money. Brittany was covering rent, utilities, food, everything. The exciting, risk-taking entrepreneur needed his elementary school teacher girlfriend to fund his lifestyle. I felt nothing hearing this. Not satisfaction, not vindication. Nothing. Then, about 3 months after I left, everything fell apart for her. Nicole called me. Holy shit, Mike. Did you hear? Hear what? The video. That TikTok Brittany made. Someone sent it to the school district. My stomach dropped. What? A parent found it. Recognized her. Complained that it was inappropriate for a teacher to post that kind of content publicly. It went to the principal, then the superintendent. She's on administrative leave. Jesus. There's a whole Facebook group of parents sharing it. They're saying she's unprofessional, that she's setting a bad example. The school board is investigating. I didn't know what to say. I'd wanted her to face consequences, sure. But this was beyond what I'd imagined. And Nicole continued. Ethan broke up with her. What? Like, the day she got put on leave. Apparently, he said it was too much drama, and he needed to focus on his energy. He moved out. She found out he was also texting Sarah from her friend group. Like, the whole time. Sarah was one of Brittany's close friends. The betrayal there was almost poetic. Everyone's kind of backing away from her, Nicole said quietly. The video resurfaced, and people are seeing it differently now. Like, she humiliated her boyfriend publicly, and now she's getting humiliated publicly. People aren't sympathetic. Is she okay? I asked, and immediately regretted it. Why did I care? I don't know. She's not posting anything. Her parents are pissed. They loved you, by the way. I think she's pretty isolated. We hung up shortly after. I sat in my apartment, processing this information. I'd wanted her to understand what she'd done was wrong. But seeing her life implode felt heavier than I'd expected. Still, I didn't reach out. What would I even say? The first time she tried to contact me was a few days after Nicole's call. A text from an unknown number. Hey. I know it's been a while. I knew it was her immediately. I stared at the message. Another one came through. I just wanted to check in, see how you're doing. Then, I've been thinking about us a lot lately. I didn't respond. I just blocked the number. 2 weeks later, my phone rang from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but I was expecting a call from a contractor about something in my apartment. I picked up. Mike. Her voice. Small, tentative. So different from the last time I'd heard it. I should have hung up. Brittany. Oh my God, you answered. She sounded like she might cry. I wasn't sure you would. I've been trying to reach you. I know. Listen, I messed up, Mike. I see that now. I really messed up. I didn't say anything. Things with Ethan didn't work out. He wasn't who I thought he was. He was using me. For money. For a place to stay. He was texting other women the whole time. He left the second things got hard. I'm sorry that happened to you. I said, and meant it on some level. I lost my job. Well, probably. The investigation is still ongoing, but it doesn't look good. That stupid video. I wish I could take it back. I wish I'd never posted it. Okay. And I miss what we had, Mike. I miss you. You were good to me. You were always good to me. And I didn't appreciate it. I was stupid and immature, and I don't know what I was thinking. The silence stretched between us. Mike? Are you still there? Yeah, I'm here. Do you think? Is there any chance we could talk? Like actually talk? Get coffee or something? No. I said quietly. I don't think that's a good idea. Please. I just need to explain, I appreciate you calling, but I've moved on. Moved on? It's been 3 months. Yeah. And I'm in a different place now. Literally and figuratively. I hope you figure things out, Brittany. I really do. But I'm not part of that process. Mike, please don't. I hung up. My hands were shaking. Not from anger or sadness, but from adrenaline. I'd actually done it. Set a boundary and held it. I blocked that number too. About a week after that call, her sister Rachel contacted me. We'd always gotten along okay, but I should have known she'd try. Mike, hey, it's Rachel. Do you have a minute? What's up, Rachel? Look, I know things ended badly with you and Britt, but she's really struggling right now. Here we go, I thought. She told me about the job situation and Ethan. Then you know how bad things are for her. She lost her job, Mike. She lost the guy she left you for. She's probably going to lose the apartment because she can't afford it alone. She's in a really dark place. That's terrible. I hope she gets the support she needs. You could be that support. Rachel's voice took on an edge. She made a mistake. One mistake. She's paying for it way more than she deserves. One mistake. I couldn't help the laugh. Rachel, she made a viral video, humiliated me, was emotionally cheating for a month, and told me to my face I wasn't good enough. That's not one mistake. That's a pattern of disrespect. She was confused. She's young. She made a bad choice. We're both 28. We're not that young. Can't you just talk to her? 5 minutes. That's all she's asking. No. You're being really cold about this, Mike. She's family to me. And you were almost family too. I thought you cared about her. I did care about her. A lot. But she made it very clear that what we had wasn't valuable to her. She threw it away for something exciting. That was her choice. I'm not responsible for the consequences of her choice. So you're just going to let her suffer. I'm not letting her do anything. She's an adult. She made decisions. This is what happened. I'm sorry she's struggling. Rachel, I really am. But that's not my responsibility anymore. Wow. Rachel's voice was ice now. You know what? Maybe she was right about you. Maybe you are too boring and cold to handle a real relationship. Maybe I am, I said calmly. Either way, I need you to respect my decision and not contact me about this again. I wish Brittany the best, but I'm not going to be part of her life moving forward. I hung up before she could respond. Blocked her number too. That evening, new texts started coming in from different numbers. I recognized the pattern. Brittany, getting more desperate, more angry. You know what? You are boring. I was right about that. You're probably alone anyway. No one wants someone like you. I only feel bad because I wasted 2 years on someone so cold and selfish. Ethan was 10x the man you'll ever be. At least he knew how to make me feel something. I screenshot each message and saved them to a folder on my phone. Then blocked each number. A part of me was almost relieved to see this side of her. The victim mask was slipping. This was who she really was. 5 months passed. Real, solid months where I started to feel like myself again. Maybe better than myself. I got a promotion at work. Senior financial analyst, with a significant raise. I moved into a better apartment. A 2-bedroom with an actual view. I was going to the gym 4 times a week and looked better than I had in years. And I met someone. Her name was Sarah. Different Sarah, not the one from Brittany's friend group. We met at a work conference, ended up at the same networking dinner, and just clicked. She was a corporate lawyer, sharp and funny and kind. We'd been dating for about 2 months, taking it slow, and I was genuinely happy. Not trying to prove anything, not trying to fill a void. Just happy. She knew about my previous relationship in broad strokes. I dated someone for a couple years. It ended badly. I took some time to work on myself. She didn't need the details. It wasn't relevant to us. Then came Jake's engagement party. Jake and his fiancée Melissa were having a big celebration at a nice restaurant downtown. I'd RSVP'd yes, bringing Sarah as my +1. I didn't think about whether Brittany would be there. Melissa was more Jake's friend than our mutual friend, so I figured I was safe. I was wrong. Sarah and I walked in around 7 p.m. The party was already going. People clustered in groups, drinks flowing. I was introducing Sarah to people when I saw her. Brittany, standing alone near the bar, wearing a black dress that looked too formal for the occasion. She'd lost weight. Not in a healthy way. She looked tired. Our eyes met across the room. I watched her face cycle through shock. Something like pain, then forced composure. That's her, isn't it? Sarah said quietly. She'd followed my gaze. Yeah. She looks miserable. Let's just enjoy the party, I said, steering us toward Jake. For the next hour, I tried to ignore Brittany's presence. Sarah was amazing. Charming with my friends. Funny, engaged. She fit into my life so naturally. I caught Brittany watching us a few times. Each time, I looked away. I was at the bar getting drinks when she approached. Sarah had gone to the bathroom. Mike. I turned. Brittany. Hi. Hey. She twisted her hands together. I didn't know you'd be here. Jake's my best friend. Right? Yeah. Of course. She looked at me, then away, then back. You look good. Really good. Thanks. The silence was excruciating. Listen, she said. I know I'm probably the last person you want to talk to, but I've been wanting to say something for months. Brittany, please. Just let me say this. She took a breath. I was wrong. About everything. The video, what I said to you. Choosing Ethan, all of it. I was so incredibly wrong and stupid and immature. I didn't respond. That video ruined my life, Mike. I lost my teaching license. I had to move back in with my parents. Everyone I know has seen it. And they all think I'm this terrible person. And they're right. I was terrible. Especially to you. I'm sorry that happened. Are you? She looked at me, and there was something desperate in her eyes. Because you seem fine. Better than fine. You seem great. I am fine. With her. She glanced toward the bathroom. Her name is Sarah. Does she know? About us. About what we had. She knows I was in a relationship that ended. That's all she needs to know. Brittany flinched like I'd slapped her. That's all. We were together for almost 3 years, Mike. That's all it was. Just a relationship that ended. What do you want me to say, Brittany? I want you to say you remember what we had. That it meant something. That I wasn't just. That you haven't completely erased me. People were starting to look. I kept my voice level. Of course I remember. But that was a different part of my life. I'm not in that part anymore. Because of me. Because I destroyed it. Her eyes were wet now. I know that. I think about it every day. I'm in therapy now. I'm working on myself. I'm trying to understand why I sabotaged something good. That's good. Therapy helps. Is there? She stepped closer. Mike, is there any chance at all, that we could talk? Get coffee? Just once. I need you to know how sorry I am. I need to make this right. This was the moment. The moment I'd imagined in different versions over the past months. Sometimes I'd pictured myself angry, vindictive. Sometimes I'd pictured myself forgiving. In this moment, standing in this restaurant with this woman who'd humiliated me, who'd told me I wasn't enough, who traded me for someone she thought was better, I felt neither angry nor forgiving. I felt nothing. Brittany, I'm with someone now. Someone who makes me happy. Someone who doesn't think I'm boring or insufficient or safe in a bad way. I don't think those things anymore. It doesn't matter if you do or don't. Because I don't think about this anymore. I don't think about us. That part of my life is done. Done. She looked stricken. Just done. Yeah. So that's it. After everything. I'm just nothing to you. You're not nothing. You're someone I used to date. Someone who taught me what I don't want in a relationship. I hope you're okay. I hope therapy helps you. I hope you find whatever you're looking for. But that's the extent of what I feel. Sarah appeared at my side then, sliding her hand into mine. Everything okay? I looked at Sarah, pretty, kind, stable Sarah who thought my job was interesting, who liked quiet nights in as much as going out, who thought being financially responsible was attractive, not boring. Yeah, I said. Everything's good. I turned to Brittany. This is Sarah. Sarah, this is Brittany. We used to date. Used to. Past tense. Ancient history. Nice to meet you, Sarah said politely, reading the situation perfectly. Brittany stared at our joined hands. At Sarah's face. At me. She's pretty. She is, I agreed. Does she know what we had? She knows I was in a relationship that ended badly. I said. There's not much else to tell, really. It was a long time ago. 8 months. 8 months was a long time ago. An entire different life ago. Right. Brittany's voice was hollow. A long time ago. Take care of yourself, Brittany. I walked away with Sarah, back to the party, to my friends, to my life. I didn't look back. Later, as we were leaving, Sarah asked, "Was that hard?" "No," I said, and realized it was true. It wasn't hard at all. She seemed like she wanted something from you. She wanted me to still care. To still be affected. To prove she still mattered. And she doesn't. I thought about it. About the version of me who lived in that apartment. Who watched her film that video on our couch. Who thought he wasn't exciting enough. No, I said. She really doesn't. We walked to the car. Sarah was talking about something funny Jake had said, and I was listening, present there. Not thinking about Brittany. Not wondering if I'd been too harsh or too cold. Just there. My phone buzzed later that night. Another unknown number. I didn't even open the text. Just blocked it and went to bed. The next morning, I deleted the folder of screenshots I'd saved from her angry texts. I didn't need them anymore. Didn't need proof of who she really was. I already knew. More importantly, I didn't care. It's been 3 weeks since the party. I haven't heard from Brittany again. Maybe she finally got the message. Maybe she moved on. Maybe she's still trying to figure out where it all went wrong. I don't think about it much. Someone asked me recently if I was angry about what happened. About the video, the public humiliation, losing 2.5 years to someone who didn't value me. I told them the truth. I'm not angry. I'm grateful. She showed me exactly who she was. She saved me years of wondering if I should have tried harder, been more exciting, been less boring. She made the choice to leave. And in doing so, she freed me to find something real. Sarah and I are planning a weekend trip next month. Nothing crazy, just a cabin upstate. She's excited about it. I'm excited about it. It's going to be quiet, peaceful, maybe a little boring by some people's standards. But it's exactly what I want. Turns out boring was exactly what I needed to be. For the right person, stable isn't an insult. It's a gift. And for someone who values. Story 5.
The beeping of the glucose monitor became the soundtrack to our marriage. 3 a.m, a shrill alarm from our son Leo's room. I'd roll out of bed, my nurse brain already calculating carbs and insulin units. Across the hall, my wife Chloe would just pull the covers tighter. Before Leo's diagnosis, we were a team. Now, we were just co-workers managing a very fragile, very loved project. I handled the nights. Chloe handled the days. We passed each other in the hallway like ships exchanging data points instead of kisses. His blood sugar was 85 at midnight. Okay, I'll give him juice with breakfast. My 12-hour shifts at the hospital felt like a vacation. At least there, the chaos was organized. At home, it was a quiet, creeping decay. We stopped talking about anything that wasn't Leo or Bill's. The space between us grew until it was a hollow ache in my chest. Chloe found her escape. It started with her phone, then migrated to the big TV in the living room. Fortnite. The cartoonish graphics and cacophony of digital gunfire filled the silence. I no longer knew how to. At first, I was relieved. She was smiling again, laughing into a headset, her hands flying across the controller. It was better than the blank stare she'd had for a year. Who are you always talking to? I asked one night, standing in the doorway with 2 glasses of water. She pulled one side of her headset off. Just my squad. We're in a duos match. Right. I had no idea what that meant. Her focus was already back on the screen. He's one shot. Push him. Push him now. The man on the other end of the line had a deep, calm voice that I'd started to recognize. He was her duo's partner. I only ever heard his screen name Vortex. She talked to Vortex more than she talked to me. She told him about difficult clients at the salon, about the new coffee shop she wanted to try, about how tired she was. I learned more about my wife's inner life from her half of conversations with a digital ghost than I did from looking her in the eye. It felt pathetic to be jealous of a video game. So I buried it. I told myself it was healthy. She had a hobby. A friend. Then came the weekend trip. She brought it up on a Tuesday while I was cleaning Leo's insulin pump supplies at the kitchen sink. Hey, so Brenda from cosmetology school is finally opening her own salon, she said, scrolling on her phone at the table. In Pittsburgh. She's kind of freaking out and wants me to come help her set up for the grand opening. I stopped scrubbing. Pittsburgh. That's like a 10-hour drive. I know. But she's a wreck. She needs my eye for the layout, the product displays. You know how she is. I didn't know how Brenda was. I'd met her once, maybe at our wedding a decade ago. When? Next weekend. I'd leave Thursday morning, be back Sunday night. 4 days. It would be a huge help to her. She finally looked up from her phone, her eyes wide and hopeful. It was the most animated I'd seen her in months. I thought of 4 days alone with Leo. The constant monitoring the finger pricks the anxiety. But I saw that spark in her eyes and felt a pang of guilt. Maybe this is what she needed. A break. A reminder of the person she was before all this. Okay, I said. Yeah, okay, you should go. The night before she left, she was buzzing. She packed a suitcase full of clothes I hadn't seen her wear in years. Nice jeans, a few slinky tops, a black dress. Brenda said we're going out Saturday night to celebrate, she explained, catching my eye. It's a fancy place. Sounds fun, I said, trying to sound supportive. She left Thursday morning before I was even awake. A quick peck on my cheek was all I got. The house felt huge and silent. The first day was fine. She sent a few texts. Asterisk. Made it. The city is beautiful. Asterisk. Asterisk, Brenda's salon is going to be amazing. So much work to do, asterisk. She sent a picture of a half-assembled styling station, boxes everywhere. It looked legit. Friday was quieter. One text in the morning. Asterisk. Long day ahead. Talk later. Love you, asterisk. By Friday night, I'd heard nothing. I called her. Straight to voicemail. I texted, no reply. I told myself she was busy. They were working, then they went out, her phone died. There were a million logical reasons. Saturday was a black hole. I called 6 times. Each one was a punch to the gut as it went to the recorded message. I texted a dozen times. Asterisk, hey, just checking in. Is everything okay? Leo's asking for you. Please, just let me know you're safe. Asterisk. The single blue check mark on WhatsApp was my only reply. Delivered. Not read. Panic started to curdle in my stomach. What if she'd been in an accident? What if something happened? I started searching for the salon's name online. Brenda's Salon, Pittsburgh. Nothing. New salon, grand opening, Pittsburgh. Nothing. I searched for Brenda's last name on social media. I found her profile. It was full of pictures of her kids and a trip they'd taken to Disney last week. Her latest post from Friday night was a picture of her and her husband at a local pizza place in Scranton. Not Pittsburgh. My blood went cold. By Sunday morning, I was a ghost. I'd barely slept. Leo knew something was wrong. He was quiet, clinging to my leg as I mechanically made him pancakes. My mind was racing, trying to piece it all together. The lie was so obvious now I felt like an idiot for ever believing it. But why? Where was she? My phone buzzed. A text from Chloe. Asterisk. So sorry, my phone died and I couldn't find my charger. It was a crazy weekend, so much work. Heading home now. See you tonight. Love you. Asterisk. The casualness of it, the sheer audacity, broke something in me. She got home late, full of fake smiles and stories about paint colors and unruly contractors. I played along. I was a statue, nodding and grunting my insides, screaming. I had no proof. It was my word against hers. A suspicious husband versus a wife who just needed a weekend with a friend. After she fell asleep, exhausted from her trip, I sat on the couch in the dark, my laptop open. My heart hammered against my ribs. I don't know what made me think of it. The shared cloud account. We set it up years ago to automatically back up the photos from our phones. A central place for all our pictures of Leo. I logged in. Her photo library was the first thing that loaded. The most recent pictures were from a week ago, Leo at the park, a selfie of her and the dog. Nothing from the weekend. Of course. She was smart enough to delete them. But she wasn't smart enough to know about the trash folder. My hand was shaking as I navigated the menu. I clicked on Recently Deleted. For a second, there was nothing. Then the thumbnails started to load. One by one, they populated the screen, damning and irrefutable. The first was a selfie of her in a hotel room I didn't recognize. She was smiling wearing that black dress. The second was a picture of 2 cocktails on a dark wood bar. The third made the air leave my lungs. It was her standing next to a man. His arm was wrapped tight around her waist, her head resting on his shoulder. They were both beaming a look of easy intimacy on their faces. Behind them was a riverfront, a bridge lit up against the night sky. I zoomed in on the man's face. He was handsome, maybe a few years younger than us, with a kind smile that made me sick. I didn't know his name, but I knew his voice. It was the calm, deep voice from the headset. It was Vortex. I clicked on the Photos Information tab. The geotag was stamped right there. It wasn't Pittsburgh. It was Nashville, Tennessee. 10 hours in the opposite direction. I didn't sleep. I just sat on the couch in the dark, the laptop screen burning the image of her and him into my retinas. Nashville, Tennessee. When I heard her stirring upstairs, I closed the laptop, walked into our bedroom, and stood at the foot of the bed. She blinked awake, a soft, groggy smile on her face. "Hey, you're up early." I held up my phone, the screen glowing with the picture. The smile vanished. Her face went slack, the color draining from it. "Who is that, Chloe?" My voice was quiet, deadly calm. She sat up, pulling the sheet to her chin. "Ollie, It's not what it looks like. It looks like you in Nashville with the guy you play video games with. It looks like you lied about helping Brenda in Pittsburgh. We're just friends. He was going through a hard time and I went to support him. Nothing happened." The words were so practiced, so hollow. Nothing happened. You shut your phone off for 2 days. You lied to my face for weeks. You packed a black dress to go set up a salon. Every word was a stone I was pulling from my own gut. Tears started welling in her eyes, the waterworks. Right on cue. "I know I should have told you. I was scared. You've been so distant, and he listens to me. It was just a mistake. A stupid mistake. Please, Ollie. I'll stop. I'll never talk to him again. I'll delete him. I'll delete the game. I want you. I want our family." She was crying fully now, her shoulders shaking. Part of me, a stupid, broken part, wanted to believe her. It would be so much easier. But I just looked at her face and saw a stranger. "Okay," I said, the word feeling like ash in my mouth. "Show me." Her head snapped up. "What?" "Show me. Block his number. Delete him from the game. Right now." She scrambled for her phone, her fingers fumbling as she pulled up his contact. She blocked the number. She opened the Fortnite app and after a moment's hesitation removed Vortex from her friends list. She held the phone out to me, her hand trembling. "See, it's done. I promise. It's over." For a week, the house was a mausoleum of forced politeness. We made small talk. We ate dinner together. It felt like we were acting in a play about a happy marriage. I was watching her every move. I hated myself for it, but I couldn't stop. I felt like a detective in my own home. One evening, we were on the couch watching TV. Her phone face down on the cushion between us lit up. A Snapchat notification. The username was just a jumble of letters and numbers, but the Bitmoji that popped up was a cartoon man with the same brown hair and kind eyes as the man in the photo. My stomach twisted. "Who's Kingslayer89?" I asked, my voice flat. She glanced at the screen and quickly flipped the phone over. "Oh, just someone from work. We have a group chat." That night I waited until I heard the soft rhythm of her breathing from her side of the bed. I picked up her phone. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely type in the passcode she didn't know I knew. I opened Snapchat. There he was. Kingslayer89. Vortex. Their chat history was short, just a few messages. Him times hey. You okay, asterisk. Her times. It's hard. He knows. Asterisk. Him times I'm here if you need me. Asterisk. I felt the rage, hot and clean, burn through me. I woke her up. You're still talking to him? It wasn't a question. She sat bolt upright, saw her phone in my hand, and her face crumpled. It was just to say goodbye. I swear I was telling him I couldn't talk anymore. That's all. You lied. Again. I'm sorry, I'll delete it. I'll delete the whole app. Look. She snatched the phone, her tears dripping onto the screen as she deleted Snapchat. It's gone now. For real this time. Please don't do this. You're just so angry all the time. She tried to pin it on me. My anger. My suspicion. As if I were the one creating the problem. As if my reaction to her lies was worse than the lies themselves. The next lie came a week later. I was scrolling through TikTok trying to numb my brain when the app suggested an account for me to follow. The profile picture was a selfie of him, Vortex, standing in front of that same Nashville bridge. My thumb hovered over the screen, and I clicked on his followers. I scrolled for a few seconds before I found it. A new account. No posts, no profile picture. The username was ChloeStylist22. Her middle name and the year she opened her first salon. A ghost account made for the sole purpose of watching him. I didn't even raise my voice this time. I walked into the living room where she was folding laundry and just showed her my phone. She threw the t-shirt she was holding onto the couch. Oh my God, Oliver, it's not a big deal. I wasn't talking to him. I was just curious. You're suffocating me. I can't do anything without you looking over my shoulder. It's like living in a prison. The door's unlocked, Chloe, I said quietly. You built the prison. She stormed off, and we didn't speak for 2 days. The final inevitable promise came after that. More tears, more apologies. A long, desperate speech about how she knew she'd broken everything, but that Fortnite was the root of it all. It was her escape, her addiction. She swore she was done. She promised with her hand on a photo of our son that she would never play that game again. I'm deleting it off the console, she said, her voice thick with manufactured sincerity. You can watch me. And I did. I watched her delete the icon from the menu. 2 days later, I got mandated for an extra 4 hours at the hospital. A nasty car pileup. I called to let her know I'd be home late. I was exhausted when I finally pulled into the driveway after midnight, my body aching. As I walked to the front door, I heard it. Faintly through the living room window, her laugh. It was a sound I hadn't heard in months. Not a real one, anyway. It was light and genuine, full of a joy she never had with me anymore. And mixed with it, the tinny, familiar sound of digital gunfire. I opened the front door. There she was. Curled up on the couch headset, on the TV screen, flashing with the vibrant colors of a Fortnite match. She hadn't even bothered to reinstall it on the main console. She was playing on Leo's smaller Switch, thinking I'd never see it. Yeah, he's in that bush, she said, into the mic, giggling. Push him with me. I stood in a doorway and watched her. She hadn't noticed me. She was in her other world. Her real world. With him. And just like that, the fight was gone. The anger, the suspicion, the frantic need to catch her to fix this, it all just evaporated. It left behind a complete and utter emptiness. I wasn't watching my wife betray me. I was watching a stranger play a video game. I couldn't fight for something that wasn't there anymore. You can't save a marriage by yourself. She must have sensed me. She turned her eyes widening in panic as she saw me standing there in my scrubs. She ripped the headset off. Ollie, it's not. I was stressed. I didn't say a word. I just looked at her. At the controller, in her hands, at the lie playing out on the screen. I I saw it all for what it was. Unsalvageable. I turned around and walked up the stairs. "Oliver, wait, let's talk about this," she called after me, her voice laced with a panicky edge. I closed our bedroom door behind me, the click of the latch echoing in the silent room. I sat on the edge of the bed, my work bag sliding to the floor. I pulled out my laptop, the faint glow illuminating my face in the darkness. My fingers moved over the keyboard, but I wasn't searching for her online history. I wasn't looking for more proof. I had all the proof I needed. I typed divorce lawyer into the Google search bar. I clicked on the first link. There was a button that read, schedule a consultation. I clicked it.
Story 6.
The restaurant was one of those quiet, upscale places in downtown Seattle. The kind with low lighting and a view of the Puget Sound through floor-to-ceiling windows. Rain streaked the glass as I sat across from my fiancée, Elena, watching her push salmon around her plate without really eating it. We had come here to finalize the menu for our rehearsal dinner, but the conversation had taken a turn I never saw coming. She set her fork down and folded her hands in her lap. "Alex," she said, her voice soft but deliberate. "I need to tell you something. I've been thinking a lot lately, and I don't think I'm ready for the wedding." The words landed like a quiet thud. I felt the air leave the room, even though the hum of other conversations continued around us. We had been together 7 years, engaged for 9 months. The invitations were already printed. The venue deposit was non-refundable. I owned the condo we lived in. Everything was in my name that I waited for her to continue. "I love you," she went on quickly, as if sensing the silence stretching too far. "I really do. But everything feels like it's happening so fast, and I'm scared I'm losing myself in it. I just need some time to breathe." A pause. "I'm not saying we're over. I'm asking if you can wait for me while I sort this out." Her best friend Lauren, who had joined us to help with planning, nodded along from the seat beside her. "It's completely normal," Lauren added, giving me that gentle, pitying smile people reserve for someone they think is about to be hurt. "Brides get overwhelmed. You just have to give her space." The other friend, Tara, chimed in too. "Yeah, Alex, you're so understanding. She'll come around once she feels centered again." Elena reached across the table and covered my hand with hers. Her fingers were cool. "Can you do that for me? Can you wait?" I looked at her eyes, big, hazel, pleading, and felt something inside me settle into a strange, icy calm. She wasn't asking for time. She was asking for permission to keep all the benefits of being engaged while stepping back from the commitment. She wanted the safety of knowing I'd be there when she decided she was ready again. I end that moment. The decision crystallized. It wasn't anger. It wasn't even heartbreak yet. It was clarity that I gave her hand a gentle squeeze, smiled the way she expected me to, and said, "Of course. Take whatever time you need. I'll be here." Relief washed over her face. She leaned forward and kissed my cheek. "Thank you. You have no idea how much this means to me. You're amazing." Lauren and Tara beamed. The supportive fiancé had passed the test. The rest of the dinner shifted. They started talking excitedly about a girls' weekend they were planning for Napa Valley. The same weekend that had originally been reserved for our wedding. Wine tastings, spa days, photos in the vineyards. Elena laughed and added details, already picturing it. I nodded along, signaled the waiter for another bottle of wine, and paid the check without comment. That night, after I dropped them at Lauren's apartment, I drove home alone. The condo was dark when I walked in. I stood in the living room for a long time, looking at the framed photos on the shelf, the throw pillows she had picked out, the half-finished wedding binder on the coffee table. Then I got to work. I'm a product designer at a mid-sized tech company, but for the past 3 years I'd been quietly building a side project, an AI-powered design tool that had just been acquired by one of the big players. The deal closed 2 weeks earlier. 7 figures. Life-altering money that Elena knew about and had started weaving into her future plans. I opened my laptop and called my wealth manager. We spent 2 hours moving the entire payout into irrevocable trusts and accounts structured in a way that made them unreachable in any common law claim. Next, I logged into our banking apps and canceled the secondary card I'd given her years ago. I transferred the balance of the joint checking account, mostly money I deposited, into my personal one and closed it. I called the leasing company for the BMW I'd bought her last year as an engagement gift and arranged for the title to be corrected to my name only. Then I went through every shared subscription, streaming services, gym membership, even the meal kit delivery, and removed her access. By 3 in the morning, I had erased every digital tether that could be quietly severed. The next step was harder. I opened Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, every platform where we'd built a shared online life, and initiated permanent deletions. Years of couple photos, vacation memories, engagement announcements. Gone. I exported my contacts, wiped my phone, and ordered a new one with a new number to be delivered to a private mailbox I'd set up months earlier for business reasons. Finally, I packed one large duffel and a carry-on. Passports, laptops, external drives, legal documents, a few changes of clothes. I walked through the condo one last time, not touching anything of hers. Her dresses still hung in the closet. Her skincare lined the bathroom counter. Her books sat on the nightstand. I left a single note on the kitchen island, written in my usual handwriting on a plain white card. I'll wait. Then I locked the door behind me, dropped the keys in the secure drop box my building manager uses for maintenance, and took a rideshare to the airport. By the time the sun rose over Seattle, I was on a direct flight to Barcelona. I spent the first month in a small apartment in Gracia, a neighborhood full of narrow streets and local bars where no one spoke much English. The anonymity was immediate and complete. I bought a local SIM, set up new email addresses, and let the days blur into quiet routine. Coffee in the morning, long walks, work on freelance projects that paid well and asked no questions. The only person who knew where I was, or that I was even alive, was my sister Claire. We spoke once every 10 days or so. She kept me updated, reluctantly at first, then with a mix of disbelief and quiet admiration. The fallout began sooner than I expected. Elena woke up the day after I left expecting everything to feel lighter. Instead, her card was declined at the coffee shop drive-thru. By evening, she discovered the joint account was gone. She drove to the condo, still had a key, and found everything untouched except for my absence and the note. Claire said the first calls were to her, then to my parents, then to mutual friends. Casual at first. "Have you heard from Alex? He's not answering texts." Within days, it became urgent. "I'm really worried. His phone is off. His socials are all deleted." She filed a missing person report. Police checked the condo, saw no signs of struggle, noted that my clothes and tech were selectively gone, and classified it as a voluntary departure. Nothing they could do. The girls' trip to Napa still happened the weekend our wedding had been scheduled for. Elena went, posting photos from someone else's account since her spending money now came from her parents. Claire said the pictures looked forced. Big smiles, beautiful vineyards, captions about self-love and new beginnings. But the comments from people who knew the real story were brutal in their silence. When she returned, reality tightened its grip. The BMW was repossessed from the airport long-term parking where she'd left it. Her parents paid the overdraft fees she'd racked up in the weeks before everything was cut off. But they drew a line at continuing to fund her lifestyle. She moved out of the condo. Technically, she'd never been on the lease, and back into her childhood bedroom. She got a job as a front desk coordinator at a boutique fitness studio downtown. Decent pay, but a far cry from the flexible schedule and unlimited shopping she'd grown used to. Friends started peeling away. Lauren and Tara, who had encouraged the pause, suddenly had busy schedules whenever Elena suggested meeting up. Mutual acquaintances stopped inviting her to group events. The narrative spread quietly but thoroughly. She had asked for space at the 11th hour, and he had given her exactly that. Permanently 0.3 months in, Claire sent me a screenshot from a private group chat she was still in. Elena had posted a long message claiming I'd become distant and secretive after the acquisition, that the money had changed me, that I'd abandoned her without explanation. A few people liked it out of pity. Most didn't respond at all. One night, according to Claire, Elena showed up uninvited to a birthday dinner a bunch of our old friends were having at a rooftop bar. She tried to sit down and launch into her version of events. Jake, my closest friend from college, finally stopped her. "Elena," he said, calm but firm. "We were all there that night at the restaurant. We heard you ask him to wait. We watched you plan your Napa trip right in front of him. He didn't abandon you. He did exactly what you asked." The table went quiet. She left in tears. 6 months passed. I moved from Barcelona to Valencia, renting a bright, airy flat near the beach. My freelance work turned into steady retainers from European startups. I learned passable Spanish, made friends at a local climbing gym, started dating a woman named Marta who worked as a marine biologist. Nothing dramatic, just dinners, weekends exploring the coast, easy laughter. I flew home once for my parents' 40th anniversary party. Stayed in a hotel, kept a low profile. No one mentioned Elena to my face, but Claire filled me in later. She was still at the fitness studio, still living with her parents. The story of what happened had solidified into local lore. The bride who asked her groom to wait, only to discover he took her at her word and never came back. The final chapter came almost exactly a year after I left. Claire called me on a Sunday morning, voice tight with secondhand embarrassment. Elena had apparently scraped together money for a consultation with an attorney. She wanted to sue for breach of promise to marry and emotional distress, claiming the engagement created a binding expectation of financial support. My lawyer received the demand letter and responded with a concise reply. Attached were sworn statements from two people who had been at that restaurant dinner, plus the itemized receipt showing the expensive meal and wine I'd paid for while they celebrated her newfound freedom. The closing paragraph was simple. Mr. Rivera honored Ms. Castillo's explicit request. He waited. He continues to wait. He simply chose to do so from a location of his preference. We trust this clarifies the matter. The claim was withdrawn within 48 hours. That was the last I heard of any legal action. Sometimes, late at night when the city is quiet, I think about that note I left on the island. I'll wait, she's still waiting. I suppose. For an explanation, for closure, for a different ending. But I'm not. I'm living in a sun-filled apartment overlooking the Mediterranean, building something new, surrounded by people who know me only as I am now. The past feels like a book I finished reading a long time ago. There was no dramatic showdown, no final angry message, no moment where I got to watch her realize the full weight of what she'd lost. My absence was the point. The silence was the answer. She wanted to press pause on a life we'd built together, so I stopped the tape entirely and walked away. And in the space she left empty, I found room to breathe for the first time in years. I'm finally free.
Story 7.
My girlfriend insisted I apologize to her closest colleague for making him feel undervalued at the company picnic. I told her I would. I drove to his office after hours and said, right in front of his business partner, "I'm truly sorry. I'm sorry I never warned anyone about the embezzlement you've been hiding for the past 18 months. My girlfriend, Lauren, works in finance at a mid-sized investment firm downtown. Her closest colleague there is Ethan, a senior analyst who has been with the company longer than she has. The two of them are inseparable at work. Lunch together every day, late nights finishing reports, constant Slack messages even on weekends. Lauren speaks about him the way some people talk about a mentor who changed their life. He's brilliant, she says, He's the reason she got her last promotion. He's practically family. I've always felt like an outsider looking in. I'm Alex, a graphic designer who works from home most days. I met Lauren 3 years ago at an art gallery opening, and things moved fast. We moved in together after a year, into the condo I'd bought before we met. The lease is in my name alone, but she's on everything else: utilities, streaming accounts, even the framed photos on the walls. Ethan, though, has a standing invitation to drop by whenever he wants. Lauren gave him a spare key in case of emergencies. Though the only emergency I've ever seen is when he forgot his laptop charger and needed to borrow ours. He's polished, quick with a smile that never quite reaches his eyes. And he has a way of offering advice that sounds supportive until you realize it's laced with condescension. Lauren hangs on every word. When I once suggested we spend a weekend away without checking work email, she laughed and said Ethan would never approve of going dark during quarter end. I learned to stop suggesting things. Last year, during a team-building retreat the company flew everyone to, Ethan got drunk at the hotel bar. I tagged along because Lauren begged me to come, said it would be good for me to meet her work family. After too many whiskeys, Ethan pulled me aside on the patio, the city lights glittering below us. He started bragging quietly, proudly, about how he'd been siphoning small amounts from client expense accounts for months. Nothing big enough to trigger audits, he said. Just enough to cover his gambling debts and keep his lifestyle afloat. He laughed like it was the cleverest thing anyone had ever done. The next morning he called me in a panic, voice hoarse, begging me to forget everything. He swore it was a one-time lapse in judgment, that he'd already stopped. He made me promise not to tell Lauren, not to tell anyone. I agreed. It wasn't my company, wasn't my place to blow up lives over a drunken confession. But I took a screenshot of our text exchange the next day just in case. His message read, "Please delete last night from your memory. I was wasted and talking nonsense." My reply, "Your secret's safe, but don't put me in this position again." He answered, "Thank you. It's handled. Never happened." I saved it and tried to move on. The incident that finally pushed everything over the edge happened at the firm's annual summer picnic. It was held at a lakeside park, families invited, catered barbecue, the whole corporate bonding ritual. Ethan showed up late, as always, and immediately commandeered the conversation at our table. I made a mild comment, nothing aggressive, when he started complaining about how the junior staff were lazy and entitled. I said maybe if leadership trusted them with more responsibility instead of micromanaging, they'd step up. It was meant as a general observation, not a direct attack, but Ethan took it personally. His smile tightened, and he spent the rest of the afternoon sulking. By that evening, Lauren was furious with me. She said I'd embarrassed Ethan in front of the partners, that I'd made him feel small and disrespected. She demanded I apologize. Not a text, not a quick call. A proper, heartfelt apology that acknowledged how important he is to her career and to the team. When I hesitated, she escalated. She wanted me to do it in person at the office in front of his business partner Mia, who co-leads their division. So everyone knows you support him, she said. So there's no lingering tension. I looked at her for a long moment, feeling something cold settle in my chest. She thought she was teaching me a lesson about respect and maturity. She had no idea she was handing me the perfect opportunity. Fine, I said quietly. I'll go tomorrow after work. I'll apologize properly. Her face softened with relief and triumph. She even hugged me, told me she was proud I was choosing to be the bigger person. The next day, I left my home office early. I texted Mia separately, someone I'd met a few times at holiday parties and always liked. She was sharp, no nonsense, and had built half the firm's reputation herself. Hey Mia, it's Alex, Lauren's boyfriend. Mind if I swing by around 6 to clear the air with Ethan about the picnic? Want to make sure everything's good. She replied quickly, of course. Doors open. Lauren came with me, of course. She wanted to witness the reconciliation. We arrived just as the floor was emptying out. Ethan was at his desk, sleeves rolled up, looking surprised but pleased to see us. Mia was finishing a call in the glass conference room nearby and waved us in. The four of us ended up standing near the window overlooking the city skyline, the late summer light turning everything gold. Lauren gave me an encouraging nod. Ethan folded his arms, ready to receive his due. I took a slow breath and began. Ethan, I said, meeting his eyes. I've been thinking a lot about what happened at the picnic, and I realize I owe you an apology. I wasn't as supportive as I should have been, and that wasn't fair to you or to the team. Lauren's shoulders relaxed. Ethan's mouth curved into a small, satisfied smile. You've been an incredible mentor to Lauren, I continued, and your dedication to the firm is obvious to everyone. I should have shown more appreciation for that. Mia nodded approvingly from the side. Lauren looked like she might tear up from pride that I shifted my weight, turning slightly so Mia was fully in my line of sight. But the truth is, I said, voice steady, my real apology isn't to you, Ethan. It's to Mia. The room went perfectly still. Mia's eyebrows lifted in confusion. Ethan's smile froze. Lauren made a small, sharp sound. Mia, I said, looking directly at her. I'm sorry I stayed silent for so long. I'm sorry I didn't come to you sooner about the money Ethan has been taking from client accounts. Ethan's face drained of color. Lauren whispered, Alex, what are you? I kept going, calm and clear. Last year at the retreat, he told me everything. How he'd been moving small amounts to cover personal debts. How he thought no one would notice. He asked me to keep it quiet, and I did. That was wrong. I should have told someone in leadership immediately. I should have protected the firm and the clients. That silence makes me complicit, and I regret it more than I can say. Mia's expression had shifted from confusion to razor-sharp attention. She didn't interrupt. She simply waited. Ethan tried to laugh it off. This is insane. He's making this up because I called him out at the picnic. I pulled my phone from my pocket, opened the screenshot, and held it out toward Mia. She stepped forward and looked. The messages were time-stamped, unambiguous. Ethan's own words staring back at him. Lauren grabbed my arm. Stop this right now. You're lying. You're trying to destroy him because you're jealous of our friendship. I didn't look at her. I kept my eyes on Mia. I have no reason to invent this. I gain nothing. But the firm deserves to know if client funds are at risk. Mia handed the phone back to me without a word. Then she turned to Ethan. We're going to need to discuss this with HR and legal first thing tomorrow. You'll want to have representation present. Ethan opened his mouth, closed it, then tried again. Mia, you know me. This is a misunderstanding. She raised a hand. Tomorrow, Ethan. Go home. Lauren was crying now, angry tears, pulling at my sleeve. How could you do this? How could you ruin everything? I gently removed her hand. I'm done protecting people who don't deserve it. We left the office in silence. In the elevator, Lauren hissed, "You're going to regret this." I didn't answer. That night, she packed an overnight bag and went to stay with a friend. I changed the smart lock code on the condo door before she came back. The fallout unfolded quickly. First came the furious texts from Lauren's work friends, accusing me of jealousy and sabotage. I replied to each with the same screenshot and a brief note. This isn't about personal feelings. It's about integrity. The messages stop.hr launched a full investigation. Within a week, Ethan was placed on unpaid leave. Forensic accounting confirmed irregularities. Nearly $180,000 diverted over 18 months. He resigned before they could fire him. Criminal charges followed shortly after. Lauren tried everything. Rage, tears, bargaining. She sent long voice messages blaming me for destroying her career trajectory, since Ethan had been her biggest advocate. She claimed no one would trust her judgment now. I didn't respond. Mia reached out a week later. A simple email. Thank you for bringing this forward. Couldn't have been easy. The firm is grateful, even if others aren't. She invited me for coffee to discuss how the team was coping. I accepted. We met at a quiet cafe near the office. She told me the partners were impressed I'd come forward despite personal cost. She also said Lauren had taken a leave of absence, citing stress. Rumors were swirling that she'd known more than she let on. Nothing proven, but enough to stall her promotion track indefinitely. A month after the confrontation, Lauren returned to the condo with a friend to collect her things. She'd lawyered up, claiming she'd contributed to the mortgage even though she'd never paid a dime. My attorney sent a formal letter outlining her lack of legal tenancy and giving her 10 days to remove her belongings. She showed up on day 9 with a moving pod, tears and accusations flying. I stood in the doorway and waited until everything was loaded. When she tried to take the espresso machine I'd bought, I quietly pointed out the receipt on my phone. She left it behind. 6 months have passed since that evening in the conference room. Ethan pleaded guilty to a reduced charge, paid restitution, and moved several states away. His reputation in the industry is finished. No reputable firm will touch him. Lauren moved back in with her sister upstate. She changed jobs, taking a lateral role at a smaller company with less prestige and lower pay. Her old network has quietly distanced itself. She sent one final email a few months ago, part apology, part plea for understanding. I read it once and didn't reply. As for me, the condo feels different now. Quieter. Mine again. I've taken on bigger freelance clients, traveled solo for the first time in years, and started climbing on weekends with a new group of friends. Mia and I kept meeting for coffee. At first, it was professional gratitude, then genuine friendship. We have an ease born of shared values: honesty, accountability, mutual respect. One evening, coffee turned into dinner, then another. We're taking it slowly. There's no rush. We both know what it feels like to be lied to by people we trusted. And we've decided that kind of deception has no place in whatever this becomes. Lauren wanted me to bow and beg forgiveness for a minor slight. She orchestrated a public display of contrition to reinforce her hierarchy. Instead, I delivered the truth she never saw coming. And in doing so, I reclaimed my life and gave others the chance to protect theirs.
Story 8.
10 years. For 10 years, I've been the ghost at the dinner table. The footnote in the family photo album. The thing my stepmother Ellen has to explain away at parties. Oh, that's just Carl. David's son from his first marriage. Her 4 kids, Mark, Jenna, Kyle, and Sophie, never let me forget it. They formed a wall the day she and my dad got married, and I've been on the outside ever since. They weren't just indifferent. They were hostile. It was a sport for them. My stuff would go missing. They'd lock me out of the house. They'd have inside jokes at the dinner table that always ended with the 4 of them laughing and me staring at my plate. Dad, he was a ghost too. Always working, always traveling. He saw the family he wanted to see, a happy blended unit orchestrated by his perfect wife, Ellen. He didn't see the whispers or the glares. He just saw the smiling photos she staged. The worst part wasn't the pranks. It was the clarity. Last summer, we were all forced on one of Ellen's family bonding camping trips. I was trying to start a fire and the 4 of them were watching me from a picnic table. You know, Jenna said loud enough for me to hear, if a bear came into camp right now, it would totally go for him first. Kyle snorted. He's the weakest link. Then, Mark the oldest, the golden boy, delivered the final verdict. Honestly, I'd probably just watch. Let nature take its course. They all laughed. I looked over at them, the flickering lighter in my hand. I wasn't hurt. I wasn't even surprised. It was just confirming. They wouldn't just let me get mauled by a bear. They'd pull up a chair and crack open a beer. They'd made it clear 1,000 times. I was nothing to them. So when Ellen gathered us all in the living room 2 months ago, a manic beaming smile on her face, I already knew whatever was coming wasn't for me. "We have the most wonderful news," she announced, clapping her hands together. Mark was sitting beside his new fiancée, a woman named Jessica who looked perpetually terrified. Mark and Jessica have set a date. And she paused for dramatic effect, turning her high-wattage smile directly on me. "Mark has asked Carl to be one of his groomsmen." The room went silent. I looked at Mark. His jaw was tight, a muscle twitching in his cheek. He wouldn't meet my eyes. This wasn't his idea. This was an Ellen production, starring her with the rest of us as unwilling props. "No," I said. Just that. One word. Ellen's smile didn't falter, but it became a blade. "Don't be silly, Carl." "Of course you will." "No, I won't," I repeated, standing up. "Congratulations on the wedding." I nodded at Jessica, who looked like she wanted the floor to swallow her whole. Then I turned and walked back to my room, the silence of the living room pressing in on my back. The next few weeks were a masterclass in psychological warfare. Ellen started soft. She'd catch me in the kitchen, putting a gentle hand on my arm. "Honey, I know you and Mark have had your little squabbles over the years," she'd say, her voice dripping with condescending sweetness. "But this is different. This is about family. It's about being there for your brother on the most important day of his life." "Mark is not my brother," I'd say, pulling my arm away. "He doesn't even like me." "That's not true. He loves you. You're all my children." It was like talking to a wall. A very well-dressed, delusional wall. When the soft approach didn't work, she escalated. She started leaving things on my bed. A magazine about wedding etiquette opened to the page about a groomsman's duties. A swatch of silky, god-awful burgundy fabric. A little note written in her perfect cursive times. "This will look so handsome on you, **. I swept it all into the trash can. Then came the texts. Group chats I was added to without my consent. *. Groomsmen meeting re-bachelor party planning times, I'd immediately leave the group. A minute later, I'd get a private text from Ellen. *. Carl, please don't be difficult. *. One night she ambushed me with my dad, catching us both as I was heading upstairs. "David, talk to your son," she said, her voice strained. "He's refusing to be in Mark's wedding. He's being so unreasonable." My dad, caught in the headlights as usual, just rubbed the back of his neck. "Come on, Carl. Just do it for your mother. It's one day. How hard can it be?" "It's not for her," I said, looking straight at Ellen. "And it's not one day, it's a lie. I'm not standing up there and pretending we're some big happy family for your friends." "We times are times a family," Ellen insisted, her voice rising. "Are we?" I shot back. "Ask Mark if he thinks we are. Ask him what he'd do if a bear showed up." Dad just looked confused. Ellen's face went pale for a second before the mask of maternal concern snapped back into place. "I don't know what you're talking about. You're being dramatic." I just shook my head and went to my room. The final straw came yesterday. It was a simple text from a number I didn't recognize. *. This is a reminder for the groomsmen of the Miller-Hanson wedding. Your suit fitting is scheduled for tomorrow, Saturday, at 2:00 p.m. at Tuxedo Junction. Please be prompt. *. I stared at the phone. The sheer audacity. She'd gone ahead and scheduled it, assuming she could just bulldoze me into submission. I felt a cold, hard knot of defiance solidify in my gut. I typed back a simple reply, not to the group, but to Ellen. *. I will not be there. *. Her response was almost instantaneous. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, then reappeared. A minute later, my phone buzzed. *. What do you mean you won't be there? I've already paid the deposit, Carl. You have to go. *. I didn't reply. My phone buzzed again. A phone call. Asterisk Ellen. Asterisk, I hit decline. It rang again immediately. I declined it again and put my phone on silent. For the next hour, it was quiet. I thought maybe, just maybe, she'd finally gotten the message. That I wasn't a prop she could move around her stage. I was actually starting to relax, lying on my bed with my headphones on, when I heard the sound of her SUV crunching up the gravel driveway way too fast. I pulled my headphones off. A car door slammed shut with enough force to rattle my window. Heavy, furious footsteps stomped up the front porch steps. The front door opened and slammed shut, shaking the whole house. I sat up, my heart starting to pound. Asterisk. Thump. 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 Asterisk. The sound of her footsteps hard and fast coming up the stairs. Coming for me. They stopped right outside my door. The house was dead silent. I held my breath, listening. Slowly, deliberately, the brass doorknob began to turn. The door flew open and slammed against the wall, making a new dent in the drywall. Ellen stood in the doorway, her chest heaving, her perfectly made-up face a mask of crimson rage. The gentle, manipulative matriarch was gone. This was the real her. What is the meaning of this? She hissed, her voice low and venomous. She took a step into my room, her eyes scanning the space as if looking for evidence of my betrayal. I paid a deposit, Carl. I made an appointment. You will be there tomorrow. No, I said, my own voice calm and quiet. I stayed seated on my bed. I knew that my stillness would infuriate her more than any shouting match. This is not a negotiation, she snapped, pointing a trembling finger at me. This is not about you and your teenage moods. This is about family. This is about showing a united front. There is no united front, I said, looking her straight in the eye. There's you, your 4 kids, my dad, and me. That's not a front. It's a battlefield, and I'm the only one who ever gets shot. Her jaw tightened. I have spent 10 years, times 10 years, times trying to make you feel like a part of this family. I have bent over backwards for you. I almost laughed. It was such a breathtaking lie. Bent over backwards? You mean ignoring the fact that your kids treat me like something they scraped off their shoe? They do not. They love you. You are just determined to be miserable to make things difficult. Her voice was rising, cracking with a frantic energy. She started pacing the small space between my bed and my desk. This wedding has to be perfect. Everything has to be perfect. Do you have any idea the kind of pressure I'm under? And there it was. The crack in the facade. The pressure you're under? I asked, my voice dangerously soft. I thought this was about Mark. Of course it's about Mark, she shrieked, whirling around to face me. But people are watching. My friends, David's business partners. They're all going to be there. They all know our story. They know about our beautiful blended family. She said the words, blended family, like it was the title of a novel she'd written. What are they going to think? She pleaded, her voice suddenly dropping into a desperate whine. Her whole body sagged. What is it going to look like if David's own son isn't even standing up there with his brother? It'll look like something is wrong. It will look bad, Carl. It will look so, so bad. She stared at me, her eyes wide and wet, and I saw it all. It wasn't about family. It wasn't about unity or brotherhood or love. It was about set dressing. It was about the optics. I was a prop. And my refusal to play my part was ruining her production. I was a loose thread threatening to unravel the perfect tapestry she'd spent a decade weaving. Something inside me, a tightly wound coil of 10 years of silence and swallowing my own rage, finally snapped. I stood up from the bed. I don't care, I said. The words were flat, devoid of heat. Just a simple statement of fact. I don't care how it looks. Her face crumpled in disbelief. What did you say? I don't care, I repeated, stepping towards her. About your friends. About my dad's partners. About your perfect picture. I am not going to stand up in a church and lie for you. It's not a lie, she cried, her hands balling into fists. He is your brother. That was it. That was the line. The final hypocritical, insane statement that pushed me over the edge. A cold, clear anger washed over me, sharpening every word before it left my mouth. My brother, I asked? My voice was no longer quiet. It was a blade. You mean the brother who stood 10 feet away from me last summer and told Jenna and Kyle he'd watch me get mauled to death by a bear? Ellen froze. Her mouth opened slightly, but no sound came out. The color drained from her face, leaving 2 bright red blotches on her cheeks. I took another step closer, forcing her to look at me. He didn't just say it, Ellen. He described it. Honestly, he said, I'd probably just watch. Let nature take its course. And then your other 3 perfect children laughed. They thought it was hilarious. That's the brother you want me to celebrate. That's the family you need me to put on a burgundy tuxedo for. I let the question hang in the dead silent air of the room. I watched her manufactured reality shatter and fall to the floor in 1,000 pieces. I had taken her script, ripped it to shreds, and set it on fire. She had nothing. No defense. No denial. She knew it was true. Maybe she'd even overheard it herself and just filed it away under things to ignore. For a long moment, she just stared her mind, scrambling for a new tactic, a new angle of attack. Finally, she found one. She drew herself up a flicker of indignation, returning to her eyes. There is no reason, she said, her voice a brittle whisper, to use such vulgar language. It was pathetic. A defeated queen trying to critique the grammar of the man who just stormed her castle. She couldn't argue the substance, so she attacked the style. I didn't even bother to respond. I just held her gaze. The power had shifted completely. For the first time in 10 years, she wasn't looking at a nuisance to be managed. She was looking at someone who wouldn't break. The stalemate lasted a few more seconds before her eyes dropped to the floor. Defeated. Get out of my room, I said. She flinched, then turned without another word and walked out, leaving the door wide open. I listened to her footsteps, slower this time, retreat down the stairs. A few minutes later, I heard her SUV start up and crunch back down the driveway. I walked over and shut my door, the click of the latch echoing in the sudden, profound silence. It wasn't a victory that felt like a celebration. There was no joy, no rush of adrenaline. Just a heavy, hollow space where a decade of anxiety used to be. The fight was over for now. The burgundy swatch was still in the trash. The suit fitting would happen without me. I had drawn a line. Not in the sand, but in solid rock. And for the first time, I felt the solid ground of my own well-being beneath my feet.
Story 9.
36. A mechanic who owns a small auto repair shop on the edge of town. Steady work, decent money, my own place with a garage out back, and a classic pickup I've restored myself. Nothing extravagant, but it suits me fine. Sophia, 31, is a graphic designer for a big marketing firm in the city. Creative, always dressed in flowing outfits with statement jewelry. Surrounded by friends who talk about design trends and international travel. They were always courteous when I joined them, asking about my shop or the cars I worked on. But I could sense the subtle distance. like I was the outlier in their polished circle. Elena had insisted I come tonight, saying it wouldn't be the same without me, which felt genuine at the time. Now, looking back, maybe it was part of the setup. We'd arrived around 8 p.m. The group of about 10 people already seated at a reserved table with white linens and an elaborate charcuterie spread. I had on my best button-down shirt tucked into dark jeans, boots polished for the occasion. Everyone else was in linen dresses, tailored shirts, or sleek jumpsuits, the kind of effortless elegance that comes from city salaries. Conversation flowed easily at first. Work projects, upcoming vacations, funny stories from a recent group trip to Mexico. Sophia sat next to me, her hand occasionally brushing mine under the table, including me when topics turned my way. I shared a bit about a tricky engine rebuild I just finished on a vintage Mustang, and a few nodded politely, though their eyes glazed over quickly. Dessert came. Some intricate chocolate torte with gold leaf. And that's when Elena stood up, tapping her fork against her Prosecco glass for attention. "Thank you all for coming tonight," she began, her voice carrying that confident tone she always had. "This year has been incredible: new clients, amazing travels, and the best friends anyone could ask for. Smiles all around, glasses raised slightly." She turned toward Sophia, a mischievous glint in her eye. "And Sophia, you've been such an inspiration this year, especially in the relationship department." Sophia tilted her head, smiling curiously. "What do you mean?" Elena laughed lightly, glancing around the table for reactions. "I mean, your whole adventure with branching out, trying something completely outside your usual scene. It's been eye-opening to watch." The table quieted a bit, forks pausing mid-air. My fork hovered over my plate as a knot formed in my gut, but I kept my face steady. "Dating someone from such a different walk of life," Elena continued, gesturing vaguely in my direction without looking right at me. "No shared interests in the arts or culture, different education paths. That whole mechanic versus designer contrast. This really clarified things, hasn't it? Shown exactly what doesn't align long-term." A couple of people shifted uncomfortably. One guy, Marcus, chuckled awkwardly. Another friend, Julia, added softly, "It's brave to explore that, though." Elena nodded enthusiastically. "Exactly. Now you know precisely what you do want. Someone who fits seamlessly into your world. It's like a masterclass in self-awareness." The words hung there. The group divided between stunned silence and subtle agreements. Sophia's cheeks flushed deep red, her mouth opening slightly but no words coming out. She stared at her plate, fingers tightening around her glass. No one looked directly at me, but the implication was crystal clear. I'd been the test case, the detour from her norm. Discussed openly like a case study, I set my fork down quietly, reached for my wallet, and pulled out enough cash to cover my share of the meal plus a generous tip. Probably $80 for the steak and drinks. Placed it neatly beside my plate. "This should handle my part," I said calmly, pushing my chair back and standing. "Happy birthday, Elena. Thanks for the insight." I didn't raise my voice or linger, just nodded politely to the table and walked away. Down the stairs, past the hostess stand, and out into the cool night air. My pickup was parked a block away. I got in, started the engine, and drove home without rushing. The city lights blurred a little as the reality sank in. 11 months of building something I thought was solid, only to realize I'd been viewed as an exploratory phase, and my phone buzzed almost immediately. Sophia calling. I let it ring out. Then a text. Alex, please don't go like that. Elena didn't mean it that way. Another call. I declined and kept driving. By the time I pulled into my driveway, the messages were piling up. She was just tipsy and projecting her own breakup drama. Everyone agrees it was awful. Please pick up. We can talk this through, but I ignored them all. Went inside, poured a glass of whiskey, and sat on the back porch staring at the garage lights. All those small moments I dismissed came flooding back. The time at an art opening when one of her friends asked if I'd ever considered elevating my career beyond fixing cars. The group chat jokes about me being the rugged contrast to their aesthetic. Sophia gently suggesting I try some modern art books to broaden horizons. I'd laughed them off, thinking it was just different worlds colliding harmlessly. Around midnight, I heard tires on gravel. Looked out the window, Sophia's sleek hybrid parked out front. She knocked softly at first, then more insistently. Alex, I know you're home. Please, just open the door. I stayed silent, lights off in the living room. She waited on the porch for 20 minutes, then sat in her car another half hour before finally leaving. Next morning, a bouquet of lilies appeared on my doorstep with a card. I'm so sorry. What we have is real. Don't let one stupid comment ruin it. I dropped them straight into the trash bin. 2 days later, things escalated. I was under a lifted SUV at the shop, diagnosing a transmission issue, when my lead tech, Carlos, poked his head in. Boss, there's a lady out front asking for you. Says it's personal. Wiping grease off my hands, I stepped out to see Sophia standing by the open bay door in her work attire, looking composed but anxious. You shouldn't come here, I said, keeping my voice low so the guys wouldn't overhear too much. Just 5 minutes, Alex. Please. She clasped her hands together. Elena crossed a line, and I've already told her she's out of line completely. When did you tell her that? Because at the table you said nothing. I froze. I couldn't process it fast enough. She blindsided everyone. Blindsided you with something you'd apparently discussed before. The words came out even no yelling. A couple customers glanced over curiously. That's not true. Alex, you know I adore you. I know how your circle sees me. And I know silence when something hurtful is said about me means agreement. She glanced around, noticing the subtle attention from my team. Please, let's meet tonight, dinner, coffee, anything. I don't want to lose this. There's nothing left to lose. I turned and walked back into the shop. She lingered for a bit before driving off. That evening brought a new tactic. My phone rang with an unknown number. Turned out to be Sophia's brother, Derek, whom I'd met at a few family barbecues. He was always straightforward. Alex, man. Sophia filled me in on the birthday mess. That was messed up what her friend said. Appreciate you saying that. She's devastated. Hasn't stopped talking about how much she screwed up by not speaking up. I'm sorry she's upset. But this isn't fixable with apologies now. Look, I get it. But my sister really cares. She's not the type to play games. Her friend described our relationship as an adventure in branching out to figure out what doesn't fit. And she sat there. Long pause on his end. You think she sees you that way? I think her silence confirmed it. Different worlds are fine if both people bridge them equally. This felt one-sided. He tried a few more angles, but I held firm. Ended the call politely. The next afternoon, my phone lit up again, this time my sister Lisa. Alex, what the hell is going on? Your girlfriend just called me crying. Ex-girlfriend. She said you two had a big misunderstanding and asked if I'd talk sense into you. Said she found my number through your shop's website contact form or something. That's persistent. I told her family stays out of this stuff, but she sounded desperate. What happened? I gave her the rundown. The speech, the lack of defense, the pattern of subtle digs I'd ignored. Wait. Her friend basically called you a trial run in front of everyone. Pretty much. And she didn't shut it down? Nope. Then good riddance. You deserve someone who brags about you. Not someone embarrassed when their friends point out differences. We talked a while longer. Her support helped solidify things. Later that day, a text from Sophia's phone. This is Elena. I borrowed it because I know you'd block mine. I owe you the biggest apology. I almost ignored it, but curiosity won. What she said was unforgivable. I was drinking and dealing with my own recent split. Projecting hard. Doesn't excuse it. No, it doesn't. I've spoken to Sophia. She's heartbroken. She talks about you all the time, how grounded you make her feel. Then why the speech? I twisted something she'd mentioned once in passing about navigating different backgrounds. It wasn't how she truly saw things. So she'd used those words before. Not exactly like that. Look, we're a pretentious bunch sometimes, used to our bubble. But Sophia stepped outside it because she wanted you. Not as an experiment. The conversation dragged on. She admitted to snobbery in their group, but insisted Sophia's feelings were real. It planted a tiny seed of doubt. Maybe I'd overreacted. Maybe one drunk rant didn't define everything. A week passed with no contact from me. I threw myself into work. Long days restoring a '67 Camaro for a client. Evenings tinkering in my own garage. Memories kept surfacing, though. Like 3 weeks ago when Sophia suggested a weekend at an exclusive coastal art retreat. When I mentioned the cost, she offered to cover most of it, saying casually, "I know the shop has variable income." I'd taken it as thoughtful. Now it felt like accommodation for my level. Or at her firm's holiday party last month, when a colleague joked about designers dating real-world guys for inspiration. She laughed it off nervously, steering conversation away instead of correcting him 2 months back. She'd forwarded me listings for vocational management courses, saying gently, "If you ever wanted to grow the business bigger, these could help." I'd said I was content running things hands-on. She'd nodded but looked disappointed, patterns I'd excused as caring now looked like quiet reshaping. Finally, I decided clarity was needed. Called her from the shop during a slow afternoon. "Alex." Her voice cracked with hope. "Thank you for calling. Sophia, I've thought it through. We're finished." "No. Please hear me out. I am. You say you care. But when it mattered most, you stayed quiet while I was reduced to a lesson in incompatibility." I was stunned. I should have jumped in immediately. I've regretted it every second. Regret now doesn't erase the moment. And it doesn't erase the buildup. I'll cut ties with anyone who disrespects you. Elena's already on thin ice. It's not just her. It's the hesitation I saw in you too. She pleaded for another chance. Dinner, therapy, even meeting her parents sooner than planned. I stayed firm. That evening she appeared at my door, eyes puffy, holding a small sketchbook. "I made this for you. Designs inspired by your shop. The cars you love." I took it but didn't open it. "Sophia, one honest question. Anything." Before Elena's speech, "Did you ever view dating me as stepping outside your comfort zone in a way that implied I was less aligned with your usual standards?" She hesitated, eyes dropping. "Early on, I wondered if our differences would work long-term. The lifestyles, interests. So yes. But that changed. I fell for who you are. Yet the wondering was there. You saw the gap and hoped it'd close. It's not like that. It is. You needed confirmation of what fit your world perfectly. I was the contrast that highlighted it." She reached for my hand. I stepped back. Find someone who never has to wonder. Someone who fits from the start without needing proof. I closed the door gently. No more visits, no more messages. Peace settled in. A few days later, grabbing beers with my buddy Ryan, who runs a welding business nearby, I recounted everything. "Brother, I hate to say it, but those signs were screaming. She always acted like she was bringing you into her gallery, not meeting you in the middle. You saw it too. Whole crew did. Nice girl, but that superior vibe was there. Like dating you was her authentic experience phase. Hearing it confirmed freed something. I'm good now." Shop's busy. Friends are solid. Life's uncomplicated again. Walking away quietly, covering my tab, refusing the please. That was all the closure needed. Elena's outburst ripped off the Band-Aid, revealing the truth underneath. Sophia learned what she truly wanted. And I learned I won't settle for being anyone's temporary detour. Next time, it'll be with someone who sees being with me as the perfect fit. No contrasts required.